Okay, I guess we are. I guess we're live, just like that, just like that. And of course, just as I go live, someone wants to join the feed. So let me get them the link, and then we'll settle in here tonight for a little bit of oddity that is open mic night. There we go. Link is sent. Anybody that's watching this, if you are interested in joining whatever this might become, just shoot me a message, and or you can put it in the comments that you want to come in. I'll shoot you the link, and we'll do this Friday night thing that I really don't know what it's going to be. We'll take this conversation wherever you want to take it. Basically, I was sort of inspired to do this. Three things happened tonight. So one, I watched Steve Jobs. Well, not Steve Jobs. Sorry, that's the Fassbender movie. I watched Jobs, the Ashton Kutcher movie about Steve Jobs. I love that movie, and I was basically watching it while I was sorting comics, and then this guy shows up.
What's up, yo?
And just like, hey, I guess I'll go on your show that just started 2 minutes ago. Okay.
That's just my MO.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You got to make sure it's happening before you want to commit to being part of it, right?
No, I'll be there whenever you need me to be there.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
Just say my name
Awesome.
and I'll be there.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing. I don't know what this show is, but we're not doing that. That's over and done. No, I was telling people a few things happened in the last hour that kind of set me off, and so I just figured like I need to get my head straight, and just I'm gonna rant. I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna do whatever happens tonight. But the first thing that happened was I had to sort a lot of comics. So basically, when I sort comics, I just watch movies and just kind of zone out. So I tossed in. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You know the Ashton Kutcher movie about Steve Jobs called Jobs.
Yeah, I've seen it like once.
Yeah, you need to go watch it again now because I'm going to tell everybody why you need to go watch it again, especially now because you're becoming a creator and doing things. Super important because the movie itself, when you see it once, you've seen it once and you're like, okay, I just watched Ashton Kutcher do his Steve Jobs impersonation and I understand the Apple story and whatever. Fine. You either are going to like that part or you're not, whatever. But if you go back and you watch it again now, you're going to start to see things you didn't see the first time, which is natural. You see something once, you're not going to see everything that was there. And this isn't like a special effects thing. This isn't like you go and see Star Wars 6 times because you want to find all the Easter eggs. This is storytelling through Steve Jobs' life, and there's a lot in it. Even though it seems like it's a very simple story, there's really a lot in it that creators specifically can draw from as far as inspiration, reasons to do things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of the lines in there are actual Steve Jobs lines. Yes, I know Steve Jobs was an asshole. Get over it. He was an asshole. There's lots of assholes in the world.
You know what? Apple's made me a lot of money, so I got no complaints.
All right, whatever. It's all context, right? Yeah. But the point is that Steve Jobs' mental state is kind of what I'm talking about, is where he's going through Atari. He's trying to make things better at Atari. He's making Apple basically out of nothing, out of Woz's crazy little thing that connected to his TV. Going through the process of the cold calls, trying to sell the product. That's comics, man. I mean, we're trying to like call stores and be like, hey, you want to carry my comic? No. Click.
Yo, I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's such a relevant story. Like, just take Jobs and Apple out of it. It's just a relevant story for creating something out of nothing. And it really connected with me, especially really the first time I saw it. I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I watched it again, and that's when I started to kind of peel back all the layers. And then there's even another element to it that really happened tonight, because I realized I had never watched the movie with the commentary on the Blu-ray with the director, which this was his first ever movie, which is really wild. And so as he's talking about the movie, he's talking about which scenes are real, which scenes are kind of made up because they kind of just have to make some. Like there was a scene where they decide to name the company Apple, right? And that scene is not real. Like they don't really know how Apple came about as far as the name, so they kind of created an organic way for it to happen. Fine, whatever. But this guy was talking about how he shot the film. And again, for me as a comic book creator, I'm thinking to myself, like this is like panel to panel to panel, like he's explaining, look at this, look at this, look at this. And I'm like, my God, I'm seeing this movie now in a completely different light. Because this guy's telling me things that I've seen, but I haven't seen. And I was like, fuck, this fucking movie is so brilliant and it's so panned. Kutcher got the nomination for like the Raspberry Award or whatever for like worst actor. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This movie needs to be in every creator's library and they need to watch it a couple of times a year.
Yeah, no, now I'm gonna go watch it.
Like, I'm gonna go start buying used copies and just have them at cons. And whenever somebody comes up and they're like, yo, can you tell me about how to make comics? I'll be like, watch this movie. Watch this movie like 10 times.
Yeah, there's certain things that I'm reading right now that are very helpful. So I'm a big guy who did Tribe of Mentors. Name is slipping my mind.
Guy who did what?
Tribe of Mentors,
I don't know
which
what
is a
that is.
book.
I don't know what that is.
Basically, I think Tim Ferriss, I think is his name, and so he interviewed all of these top people in, I think like 12 or 15 different sectors, and it's like a 400-page book. Everybody from Ben Stiller to Terry Crews to Stephanie McMahon, obviously a few other people, and it's just all their habits. And he asks them 8 to 10 questions, and they answer whichever ones they want. And every creator needs to read that too, I feel, because it gives you insight into good habits and into why people are successful.
That's
And
great.
that's really just, it's a great book. It's like a $30 book. It's an
Tribe
easy
of
read.
Mentors. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the idea that, you need a mentor. And instead, a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
And there's legitimately like 300 mentors in there. And some of them only answer 4 questions, and some of them go on for like 10 pages. And they're giving all this information. And it's great. I think Tim Ferriss did like the 4-hour work week. He's done, Titans.
4-hour work week?
Yeah. So that
Okay.
book is saying it's all about delegating.
Oh, sure.
Workout.
Okay.
And it's the idea that, should you really be doing your social media, or should you hire somebody to do that so you can focus on what you need to focus on?
Yeah.
And he's just a great writer and thinker. But Tribe of Mentors, it's the type of book that you put on your shelf, and every year you should read it from start to finish, because as you create and become more, I guess, further down the road, different people are going to have different meanings to what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. 100%. Yeah, 100%.
That's kind of what I just drew from what you were speaking.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm getting that type of stuff out of this Jobs movie. I mean, I've probably seen it like 50 times now. And because I watch it a lot, like especially when I'm on the road, just traveling, I'll just be like, okay, I'm just going to put this on, some background music, some background noise, and just kind of see what other layer I can find. And I've talked about this movie quite a bit. I've told people, like, you need to watch it. You need to just watch it once to just get the movie out of the way. Just know the story. None of that's really relevant to what I'm trying to tell you. And then put it aside, and then come back to it a few days later and do it again. And you're going to have a different experience. I guarantee you, especially if you come in with the mindset of, okay, let me learn or let me listen to Jobs. Let me understand the creative side of everything that he did. Even while he was being removed from his own company, he was still trying to, make these innovations. And I'm like, God damn, yeah, this is good. This is good. And it got me really into like Jobs. Like, he died in 2011, I think it was. So I was aware of the Apple thing, and I was in the Jobs era, but I was never like an Apple guy per se. I was never like following. I was never a tech guy. So computers didn't mean shit to me. So anything that was happening with computers and that kind of thing, I was like, I just don't care. And so when I've seen this movie now, and then of course the subsequent film, Steve Jobs with Michael Fassbender as Jobs, which is a completely different movie. I got really into Jobs and kind of trying to learn who this guy was and what's going on with his thought processes. Not so much the story of Apple, but just who is this guy, and you know, what can he tell me? I've got freaking Steve Jobs books on my table now. So, and
Yeah, no,
I don't read
I get it.
books. I don't read books. So the fact that those are there is it means something. So like on my desk right now, there's 3 old. So they the Charles Schultz, the Peanuts, all the old strips. I can't think of who did it, but they did these great hardcover collections of everything, like from 1950, whatever it is, all the way until the last thing. So I've been slowly piecing those together, and I've been reading those. So I have those 3 books. I have Jaws 2, and Jaws the Revenge, the novelizations of Jaws 2 and Jaws the Revenge. And then there's Steve Jobs books, and that's my reading material on the bedstand right now. Literally right now, that's what's there.
Well, my reading material is a little bit different. I am reading Sonic the Hedgehog, the IDW books,
Okay,
and they're awesome. They're awesome, and I feel stupid that I did not read them sooner. Like it's straight out of the video game, and I love Ian Flynn as a writer, and it is just so good. And I'm reading it on Comixology, and it's great, and I'm loving it.
You know, I'll tell you, there is some, and I was surprised by this. There's some licensed stuff out there that really deserves more credit than it gets. I remember, this is another thing that happened today. Transformers people trying to tell me I don't know what the fuck's going on. I had to put some people in their place today.
Don't worry, it's more than meets the eye.
No, it was exactly what meets the eye because it's on the printed page, motherfucker. And I had to point that out. Somebody was talking about the Dinobots today. Transformers, I believe it's number 8. First appearance of the Dinobots. Technically, it's the first appearance, but they had a cameo sort of flashback in issue number 4. So basically, he was just saying like, "Oh yeah, this is a cool cover, and I really wish all 5 Dinobots were on the cover." And everybody was like, "Yeah, that would have been awesome." And then one guy comes in, he's like, "Well, they weren't created at the same time." And I was like, "Well, here we go. I'm gonna have to shut you down right now." Because issue number 4 is actually the first appearance of the Dinobots. It is actually a full page recollection. So it really is the first appearance, not even really like a cameo. They're on multiple panels doing action, fighting Shockwave. And that's the reality. So shut the hell up. Go take your alternate continuities of Gen 2 and whatever else out the door. We're talking Gen 1 now. And I know more than you.
I love the Transformers, and
Yeah, man.
I was fortunate enough that I got to interview Denny O'Neil, and
Oh,
Denny
nice.
pretty much named Optimus Prime. And I
Yeah.
got to speak about that on my other show, and really cool thing. And it sounds corny, but as like a super nerd, like it's the greatest question ever. That and the phone call about Robin, if you're gonna kill him off or not. Those 2
Right.
things are the
Right.
greatest thing Denny's ever done.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Marvel basically created the Transformers. I mean, not visually; those were just based on toys. But as far as bringing it over to America and giving it story and names of basically everything, like that was Marvel. And it's kind of a wild story, but yeah, I that was Transformers came around right as I was doing comics. Like I was just as I was really starting to get into comics. And the first one I got was a number 2 because I was like, what the hell is this? Has Optimus Prime and Megatron's like shooting at him from the back. I'm like, what is this thing? So I bought it, loved it, had to find more. And
See, it's so interesting because I am like just the opposite, where I came into comics in graphic novel format. And so I was just like in the manga section,
so you're
and
like 90s is your
I came in like
start?
2006.
Oh Jesus! Oh my God!
So
I'm so sorry for you.
No, no, no. So I went backwards. So my first
Okay.
stuff was Jeff Johns' Teen Titans,
Okay.
and so like arguably one of the greatest Teen Titan runs. Because the first, I guess like 25 issues were great of that series, and then I went backwards and I went forwards at the exact same time.
Sure.
And I didn't actually get into comic collecting until 16, 17. So I
Wow.
came in when I was 11 in graphic novel format and then physical books.
You're like
R-
still a rookie, man.
And so I mean I'm 29 now. So
You're a
but
rookie. You're a rookie.
it's a very weird experience, and like I read old stuff, new stuff, and so like I don't have those quintessential positions, but I love old comic
Yeah.
history. And to me it's just awesome. And so like I know all this stuff. Like one of my favorite books is DC Presents number 26, which is the first appearance of I think Starfire, Raven, and Cyborg. And I bought that book relatively cheap. It's a 7.5 and it's a great book. And but like I love all the old Teen Titans stuff, and I wound up spending like $200 to buy a whole 100 print run of that series. And I've read it and it's great and I love all this stuff. So like I'm weird in that fashion.
No, that's the thing. That should be the normal part of comics. Like when I bought comics for the first time, well, the first comic I ever bought was Godzilla 16 from Marvel. And the only reason I bought it was because it was sitting on top of a pile of comics when I walked past them at a flea market. I didn't know what a comic book was, but I knew what Godzilla was, right? And so I'm like, well, I'm going to buy that for 50 cents or whatever it was. And I loved it because it's Godzilla, and I was like, well, there's got to be more to this stuff. And so I went back the next week and I tried to find more Godzilla stuff, and I still slowly pieced together this Godzilla series. But then as you're reading the comics, right, there's advertisements for like Ghost Rider and whatever else. So you're like, oh, okay, what's this Ghost Rider? Like that's where I went. I went Godzilla to Ghost Rider. That was my immediate jump. And then it was on fire. Then I was just like, dude, comics, give me more freaking comics. Got into Wonder Woman, late 70s Wonder Woman stuff. I'm like, dude, yes, give me more of this. And then it was on. I mean, it was just like, holy crap, I am totally into comics. But like with what you're talking about, where you're kind of starting and stopping, like my first X-Men book was it 210, I think, the first appearance of Cable, baby Cable. And that's the issue where Storm beats Cyclops to lead the X-Men, and she didn't even have any powers at that time. So I got that issue just kind of out of the blue. I don't even know why I bought it. I'm just like, okay, let's just get the X-Men now. And then, but like nowadays with comics, it's like people feel like, oh, I have to start at this number one. Like if I can't get the number one, then why am I buying number 18 or whatever? And I'm like, because that's where it is. Just dive into the story. And then if you want to go backwards. And at least you have a starting point. You can go forwards. Like for me, it was like, well, I bought 210. I wasn't worried about issues 1 through 209. I just bought the things that I like to buy. And the collection grew over time, and eventually issues connected to each other. Eventually I got 209 and 211 and so on. And, but we live in such a weird
Yeah.
time now where everybody has to like start at the number one, even though there's like 800 issues in existence.
It's weird because what happened to me is that I was a graphic novel reader first, so I
Mhm.
feel a little spoiled because I was into stories, but then somehow I wound up finding Zenoscope,
Mhm.
and I was drawn to their sexy covers, and I'm like, man, this stuff looks awesome. And like I was drawn to the art, and I didn't know who Ebas was, I didn't know who Nei
Sure.
was. I didn't, but I'm like, man, these people are ultra talented. My mom is hemming and hawing about it, which means it's a good deal. And yeah, it's okay. She's okay with the joke, everybody. Um, and then pretty much, it sort of went from there. But I wasn't even a Zenoscope reader. I was just a cover collector.
Sure.
And then just in the last 3 years, because of my website, I got all these offers to start doing reviews on graphic novels for Zenoscope, and that's what brought me in. So I've come into a lot of companies in weird ways, and but I'm a big military comic reader, and like that's what I love to read. And I'm just so fortunate that I got hooked up with the Navy Press Institute that does all these military graphic novels, and they send them to me for free. I had to read them and then write about it. and so it's just like I
That's
kind
cool.
of found my niche, and it's something cool that's on my resume, and I love
Yeah.
writing about this stuff. And but yeah, I'm a weird case, but I love comic books. Like I like to read stories. Like, I'm reading Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm not worrying about it, and I'm just pissed that I didn't buy it when it came out. That's my
Oh,
only regret.
that's where we went off on the tangent. I was talking about licensed comics not getting their due. And then the Transformers came up because this was my whole point was I was reading Transformers Marvel. Then it went over to Dreamwave for a while before that just collapsed in on itself. Um, and I really liked that stuff. The art was really great. The stories were okay, but the art was really amazing. So I was like, this looks really great. So I bought everything. I have all the variant. I mean, I have the complete Dreamwave collection. It's a nightmare in the collection. How many books there are. But then when Dreamwave went under and IDW picked it up, I was like, Jesus, I'm not starting again. And I literally just dropped the Transformers because I was like, I'm not starting over on my Transformers again. Flash forward, I don't know, 10, 15 years, something like that. They put out an Optimus Prime series. And I was like, okay, let me see what this is. Because I figured it's a new number one. We'll start just as I say, I don't need a new number one. But that wasn't the point. It was just that, like, here's an Optimus Prime series. Interesting. So I dive in and I read it, and I'm like, holy crap, this is like a legitimate real story in here, like just like you'd find in any superhero book or whatever. I was like super impressed, and I'm like, yo, I started asking people that were buying comics, I'm like, is this like all the Transformers? Is this good or what? And they were like, yeah, man, it's like a really good thing. And I was blown away that people
I mean,
actually were
I
buying
know
it.
who's responsible for that. I mean, without a doubt, Chris Ryle is responsible for that shit. Like, undeniably. I mean, that is his baby, whether IDW wants to admit it or not. Because Transformers on IDW, amazing. Just amazing.
Shockingly amazing for me, shockingly. um because not everything's great over there. Like their Mask series was pretty terrible. Not everything's great, but I was really shocked at how good the Prime series was. And I haven't even gotten the books. Like I wanted to, but I wasn't really collecting a lot of singles at the time. This is the time when I was getting divorced, and it was just like, I don't have time for this. So I figured I'd get the trade paperbacks eventually. I never find these freaking things available. So
now I know what I'm getting you for a gift.
It's always been in the back of my head, like, go get that Prime series. And then they did a Unicron series to kind of wrap up this huge arc that they were, and I was like, yeah, I want that Unicron book. And now it's now it's they did a reboot to whatever they were doing, but now it's over. Now IDW is losing the license to G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Ooh, that's painful.
And the rumor is that it's going to Skybound and Mr. Kirkman and his crew over there. So
all I'm gonna say on G.I. Joe is that there are two people they need to bring over. There are only two people they need to bring over: Larry Hama and Adam Riches. Those are the only two people who should stick with G.I. Joe.
I don't know who Adam is, but I would bet large money. I would bet large money that Larry Hama will not come over. Or not that he won't come over, like not that he doesn't want to do it, but I would bet that Skybound will look at this as, we got to go fresh. And unless Larry's willing to go fresh, I would imagine we're going to see a very different, in some capacity, Transformers and G.I. Joe, probably shared universe too, at least at some point. I mean, they've shared their universes for many years.
I'm just saying, Larry Hama's done amazing work for decades on G.I. Joe. And
at what point, though, here's a great question. At what point is it too much? At what point have you been on a brand for so long? And I haven't read, so I'm not judging anything here. This is just a legitimate question. Because in the olden days, you used to have guys run for years and years and years on titles.
yeah,
John Byrne would be on titles for years. Chris Claremont would be on titles for years. It's not really the norm anymore. So with Larry Hama and G.I. Joe, how long can you be on a title and keep whatever it is really truly on the
Mm,
edge of storytelling
that's a great
versus just
question.
kind of, hey, it's Larry and we just want Larry there forever.
Yeah, is that's a good question because yeah, I actually have to think about that. Where I do think that you need to interject, even if you broke it up for 10 issues and then you
Yeah.
brought somebody back,
Well, and they do
because
side stories, miniseries, and stuff. Those are done by different people, so there is some of that.
but there is an idea where you got to mix it up. Obviously, I'm gonna take a slight tangent with my own thing where there's a reason why I break it up with wrestlers and cosplayers because it keeps me on my toes as an interviewer.
Mhm.
And if I'm
Sure.
doing straight comics, I'm gonna get stale, and I've learned that the hard way. And I think it is important that you sort of deviate. And I mean, what I think he's done like so many issues. Yeah, maybe it is time to shift things up a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky question
It
because if the
is.
money's coming in and there's
Yeah, if it's
business,
working, you don't fix it, right?
and also it's the idea that let's say that you're a company and GI Joe is your stable book. If all of a sudden you're not looking to make $1 million on GI Joe, but GI Joe keeps the lights on, why would you break that?
Sure.
I understand that I have certain deals in life that keep the lights on, you know, and so I'm not going to touch that. But then I could go play around with another thing, I guess, in my life, for lack of a better word. And if that falls to zero, well, I'm not losing my house, for
Sure.
instance.
Yeah. Right.
And
Absolutely.
so I get that, but at the same time, it would have been really interesting if Larry worked on a book for 100 issues and then he took a 50-issue break.
Sure.
And then we kind of got something going on with that, but we didn't get a reboot. We just got a
Right.
continuation.
Yeah. And I'm not saying reboot it, but you know what? And that's what I'm saying. I believe it should Skybound get the license, or really anybody. Um, it would be my impression that they will just wipe the slate clean and come in with something completely
Yeah, I don't blame
unseen.
him.
I don't know how you can do unseen with these properties. I mean, they've been around for so long. But that would be if I got the license, I wouldn't be like racing to Larry Hama and the guys that have been doing it necessarily. Um, because I think you'd have to, especially after so long, I think you have to be able to find a way to put your stamp on it, whatever company stamp that happens to be. This is the big dog version of GI Joe, Transformers, whatever. Um,
So I'll give you a good example. One of the things, the GI Joe movies. I enjoy the GI Joe movies because I came in saying I'm just watching a fun movie. I
are
didn't.
they fun? Are they
I did.
fun though?
I had a blast watching both of them.
Oh my
Um,
god. I hated the first one. The second one was better. I will say they definitely leveled it up on the second one. But the first one is a disaster.
No, 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 but I went in to have a good time.
Sure.
So it's different if you're saying I'm not taking this too seriously, right? So like I'll watch certain B movies and I'm having a blast with my friends watching this and we're
Sure.
all drinking
Sure.
and we're
Sure.
all
Sure.
just goofing around. So I like the fact that they killed, what was it, like Chaining, whatever his name is, and or Duke, I think his name is in the movie.
Oh yeah. Well, in the second movie, they killed everybody. I mean, virtually.
And I
They
was like,
just wiped out the
yes,
squad.
this is awesome. It was like a completely different movie, and I was just caught off guard. I'm like, oh my god,
Well, it had
brilliant.
to be. The first one was just like, hey, we're putting one of the Fox brothers in accelerator suits. Like, what is this? There's nothing GI Joe about this GI Joe movie until the end when you had the Night Raven. Just the most, and then there was a Hiss tank, but it was like, what the hell is this Hiss tank thing? Um, GI Joe is I mean, think about it right now, right? There is so much nostalgia happening in films and so on right now. How do you not just take GI Joe to the 80s and put real Sky Strikers out there, F-14s, put the freaking paint your rattlers blue. I mean, just make a ridiculous 80s propaganda movie.
Oh, it'd be
And
great.
I mean, it would be unbelievable, right? Don't take yourself so seriously. Don't try to make it this real thing. Just drop in crap like the
So,
Weather Dominator and just like just
mm,
go bat
I
shit
mean,
crazy.
my favorite thing. This is my concern about Skybound, is that I love variants. I'm a variant collector,
Sure.
and my only concern about Skybound, and I don't trust Skybound on this front, is are they going to do really good covers and good variants? And that's my only concern. I'm not concerned about story. I'm not concerned about art. I'm concerned about the cover with Skybound. And because if you look at Skybound's history, they don't really do good covers. Image sometimes does good covers, but it's really 50-50. IDW has pushed out really good covers
Sure.
over the years. And that's my concern. And like I go
Well,
through a dollar bin and
I
I
think,
love my old G.I. Joe variant covers.
yeah, I think though that if you look at Skybound's books outside of Invincible, which is superhero, bright, crazy, those covers are fantastic. That's Ryan Otley at his golden age of Ryan Otley. But if you look at things like The Walking Dead and then Thief of Thieves and just all those kind of books, like there's not really anything there to get excited about from an artistic standpoint. With G.I. Joe and Transformers, everything is big, or at least it should be, and bold and bright and crazy. So I would say, based on what they were able to do with Invincible, with even just the regular old A covers, they would get it. Like, I don't think they're going to get this license and be like, hey, let's like change up everything and put them all in black leather suits like we did with the X-Men movie. Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Fair enough. I'll be the first person to say, if I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong.
And same thing. If I'm wrong and they fuck it up, well, then they fuck it up.
I mean, the thing is that like I love going through a dollar bin, and I've had great experiences finding like really cool GI Joe covers.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know anything about the story, but I'm like, these covers are bitching, man. Like it makes me remember when I'm 8. Like,
Totally.
yeah, I don't know how to explain that to anybody. Like,
no, that's it. 100%. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I
and
mean,
like,
we're looking for different books, but yes, the experience is the same. 100%. 100%.
but hey, if Image gets Transformers and G.I. Joe, I'm definitely gonna give it at least 6 or 7 issues, and I'm gonna enjoy it.
I mean, they had it before. This is the funny part. Through Devil's Due. Devil's Due is its own company, but they were published by Image for a while. So Image technically did publish G.I. Joe and Transformers way, way, way back in the day. Yeah, I forgot about that. There was a third incarnation. Oh my God. So we went from Marvel to Devil's Due to Dreamwave. And that's why I was pissed. So I'd already had 3 incarnations, and then IDW got it, and I was like, nope, I'm out. And I just cut it off. Yeah, I did 3 incarnations. That's right.
I don't even know. I have some Dreamwave Transformers stuff, and I don't even know how I have it. Like, I don't even know how I have half my collection, but I love my like comic collection. Like, I enjoy it. It's great.
I have 3 boxes of Transformers downstairs. And what
You have
really
a
pisses me
problem.
off, I do. I know. I do. And what pisses me off is Transformers. They had the Marvel series for Generation 1, and then they did a Generation 2 series. It was 12 issues. Somehow, I don't have the last issue of that book, and it is driving me batshit. And it's expensive and hard to find, and I don't want to spend $20 on a random issue of a book that no one cares about. So I always hold, because I find it on eBay every now and then. But I'm always just holding off, trying to find it in like somebody's dollar bin, or
You're trying to hunt for it in the wild.
Correct. It's a hunt for the wild. That's correct.
It-
That's why I like
it's
to do comics anyway.
I mean, I was at a comic store and it was on my birthday and it was cool. And I found a Zenescope number 5, Grim Fairy
Mhm.
Tales number 5
Mhm.
for $10 out in the wild. I'm like, oh man, this is kind of a cool book. This is an old one. It's an Al Rio. And then I found like another book that was like another Al Rio that was like a limited to like 200, or no, it was actually 1,000, but it was like black and white. And I'm like, man, this is old school Zenescope that's out in the wild. And it was a Dynamic Force book. And I'm like,
Hmm.
man, what a perfect day. And then I found a Michael D. Pascal book that was just like, man, this is a cool book too. And it was cool because it was just like I'm going through a back bin.
Yeah.
And, those are fun. And I could spend hours in a store just going through a dollar bin and have a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. I go through that stuff looking for, old Godzilla. I mean, I have all this stuff now, so I don't buy as much anymore, but if I see Godzilla stuff, I basically buy it. That's just the way it is. But partially because I do the live sales, and I know that I can turn that stuff around, because I know there's people that look for it. but it's not always. Again, it's the wild, right? That's part of the live show mystique is what's Tom going to show us? I don't know what's here. Let's see what's here. Oh, Godzilla. Okay, I'll buy it. It's kind of like flipping through the dollar bins. Or just the general back issue bins at a store, with these live sales, because you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah, no, I
There's a
don't think I'm
show
gonna
in
be.
Detroit tomorrow, well, today and tomorrow, and I was really kind of like, I kind of want to go down there and just like look through comics, but it's a small show, so I'm afraid to go down there. There's gonna be like one dude with a comics, and I'm just gonna be bummed out. So I'm not
I've
going.
I've had a blast at all these like small shows, and that like there was no comic people. It was just sales. It was baseball cards on one side and like magic cards and football cards. And there was comics on the other. I had a blast, and I love this stuff. But now my money's tight. So it's one of those things where especially today because I was at Target Con. So that was fun.
Target Con. Okay.
Okay, I'll
All right.
explain Target Con. Target Con is that once a year Target has their own Pop Funko collection that
Okay.
they
Sure.
release. And they had some cool Pop Funkos. They had Becky Lynch, a special Pop Funko for Becky Lynch with both the titles. She went like WrestleMania like 36, I think. And then they had Knuckles from Sonic the Hedgehog. That's flocked. And so I picked up both of those and trucked through the snow to go and risk my mom's life because I don't drive. And so this is how my thing went. I went to bed at like 2 in the morning last night, woke up at 7, was there at 8. I didn't need to be there at 8. They had more than enough for everybody. And yeah, I had fun today.
Well, that's that goes back to Apple, right? Making money on Apple. I hate pops. Like I own 3 pops, I think. 2 of them are Sharknadoes. And then one of them is Phoebe Cates from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Hey, when she took off her top,
Because
it
listen,
changed
you
the trajectory
can't
of my
not
life.
buy a Phoebe Cates figure. So I think that's it. I think that's the only 3 pops I have.
So let
But-
me explain about
but-
me.
but-
Please continue.
But I have stock in the company. So I encourage everyone to buy as many pops as you can possibly buy.
So I have sold a fuck ton of Pop Funkos, and I happen to have a knack for finding valuable ones. And so right now I have a Dobby from My Hero Academia. That's a $160 pop that cost $15 when it came out. So like there's real money to be made,
Oh,
but
sure.
I am definitely narrowing down and going more to comics because it has become a very, very competitive field. And it has become a very contentious field. And it is very scalper driven.
Mhm.
So I bought my Knuckles and my Becky Lynch for me because I'm
Yeah.
a WWE fan, I'm a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, and I'm a big Avatar: Last Airbender fan, and I'm a Naruto fan in My Hero Academia. And beyond that, I don't care anymore. So I'm selling off my collection and investing in the stock market.
Yeah. I at the time I wanted to buy like a case of Sharknadoes, and just have shitloads of Sharknadoes all over the place. But it was it was released at San Diego Comic-Con, and then there was a San Diego Comic-Con version. The bloody version was a San Diego Comic-Con edition. And I went over and got in line because that's all I wanted. I was like, just give me the Sharknado. That's all I want, And they had this really terrible system. They had this huge line that you had to wait to get in and then do your shopping, and then you left, and then they let so many people in and so on. But it got to a point where the line wasn't moving. I'm like, what the hell's going on? People are going in. Turns out they were giving passes outside to get in early, to skip the line. Whatever was happening outside, you had to skip the line ticket. And people, and so the line just stopped because all these people were going in. And I'm like, yo, I have a booth here. I can't just stand in line for 6 hours waiting for a stupid toy. Can you just give me the one thing I want? I'm not even here for all of your shit. I want one thing.
This is it's a whole big thing about cons where and look, I have a disability. I played that card tremendously. I got no problem. Where I was at Awesome Con, and one of the cool things they did, which actually makes a lot of sense, and it benefited me with Stan Lee is that they give if you so I walk on crutches for those who are not know who I am or have never seen me walk. So I mean I have a legitimate so they give you a red bracelet on top of your thing. And so when Stan Lee signed, they put everybody who had a disability in a whole separate line. They got them taken care of first.
Sure.
And the reason why, and actually from an accessibility position and a logical position, if you have a disability, like I walk slower. So getting everybody who has a disability out of the way and giving them an extra 30 seconds makes everything actually move faster.
Sure. Yeah. No,
And
100%.
it was great. I didn't have to wait in line. I wasn't tortured, and it saved me hours. And I mean hours of me standing in line and being exhausted. And I was presenting at AwesomeCon when he was signing. I'm like, oh my God, this is such a godsend because it allowed me to present. It allowed me to not kill myself, and it was great. And then there was a bunch of other stuff. Like I had Tara Strong, who voices Raven in the Teen Titans. Same thing. I got to cut the line, and so I take advantage of everything that I could take advantage of. I got
Yeah,
no
I have
problems.
I have no problem with that. That's not an issue for me at all. But if you're just outside in the general public and being like, "Hey, go inside and go shopping in the pop thing and skip the people that are in line that have been here for an hour," like, yo, that's not
I would
right.
feel weird if it was a Pop Funko and I knew they were limited. I would feel weird about it if I had a disability. I'd feel very weird about it.
See, I wouldn't even worry about that. Like, because it's not a situation where there's like, okay, here's 1,000 dudes that have some sort of disability and they're all going to cut the line or whatever. There's a way to do it properly, and they didn't do it properly. So I ended up getting the shark, but I had to pay like $40 for it, instead of like the normal like $25 or something. So I was like, fuck it, just some guy got it, flipped it at his booth, and I was
Hmm.
like, that's fine. Just give me the goddamn thing. I just want the thing.
I'm
And
guilty of that too.
that's it. So I got my stupid Sharknado. I got my
So
dumb Sharknado.
I don't have a problem with autographs, but I would not, and I would purposely, just on principle, not skip a line on a Pop Funko line, just on me as an individual, because that's who I am. Because I get it on the other side, but then again, I don't really play in that space anymore, so I don't really care. So
It's a crazy space. I never really I mean, I do kind of get them because basically they're bobbleheads, right? Essentially they're bobbleheads that don't bobble. Some do, but not all of them. And I get that it's like hyper licensing, like Golden Girls and like just ridiculous licenses that there's no merchandise for. So I get it. I get it when someone drops a crazy like if they were to do like Lake Placid, the movie Lake Placid, like if
oh,
they
I
did
know
Lake
that
Placid
movie.
pops, I would probably be like, Jesus, I have to buy these now because that's so ridiculous that it would even exist. Give me a giant alligator and give me, Bridget Fonda pop. Like, okay, I'll
I
buy it.
mean, look, they have Coca-Cola in Pop Funkos. They got the polar
Oh
bear,
yeah, but again, that's easy. That's Coca-Cola. I'm
and I
talking
love
about
it.
like the really weird shit.
Hey, I was required to buy that because I'm a stock holder of them. I was required, and they are. So the story with that Pop Funko is I bought the original one, and then I said to Mom, "It would be really great if they had a flock one." 15 minutes later, Funko is selling the flocked one. I'm like, God damn it! Like,
Listen, you just froze up, by the way. I don't know if that's you or me, but you froze up. So if you need to come back in and oh, there you go. Now you're back.
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
My internet sucks.
I just wanted to let you know that you stopped in case
Oh,
it was like a
I
permanent
know
stop.
I stopped. I wasn't saying anything important in case anybody is wondering. So
Well,
it's all right.
the only toy that really matters right now is this anyway.
Hmm.
This is it. This is the only toy that you need.
I'm too poor to afford it.
And we'll have these hopefully late summer. Really will depend a lot on you know uh, shipping and how we get them into the United States and all that kind of crap. So might be a Christmas thing, but
It's one of those things where obviously I don't know if we spoke about it when I interviewed you, but I was Santine Phoenix, and I know her very well. Um, I did a written interview with her, and I've done a few interviews with her that were live and pre-recorded. And she and her husband do a lot of D&D books and a lot of, I think D4 or E4 or E5 at this point. And they had a book they were producing that took 6 extra weeks because they couldn't find a boat.
Right.
I mean, no.
Yeah.
It sounds funny,
No, I
but
get it. I totally get it.
and I don't have that problem yet. At the very least, I'm going to be producing a book sometime this year, and I am printing in the U.S. for a reason, even if it costs me more.
Sure.
I don't want to
Well,
deal
and it
with
will.
international shipping. I just don't. It's a pain
But
in the ass.
yeah, we print in the United States, so that's. I mean, there's a paper shortage that's happening, but so far that hasn't really affected us too much. But yeah, we print in the United States, so we've never really had a problem with getting the books to and from the printer.
What's actually interesting is that Mixum is a sponsor of mine, and from what I heard, they can actually do fulfillment in countries that they print in. So
Mm.
they print in the UK, Canada, and Australia. So if they could fulfill my books minus the little tchotchkes that I want to throw in there, and I will find an alternative. So I will purposely build a special book for Australia, and
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
so instead of getting all the stretch goals, you'll get another book on me, which I think is a really cool concept. And Mixum can print it, and they do all the fulfillment, from my understanding, in Australia, the UK, and Canada.
Well,
And
what you could do is you could have, for example, stretch goal. Like, okay, we unlocked a trading card, yay! But then you could have an alternative card. Like if you're in Europe, this is the card you're going to get. If you're in Australia, this is the
I
card
was
you're going to get.
thinking about doing something even cooler, where a blank cover and the title would be in that country's flag's colors.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think
But
that's
again,
a
I'm just
cool-
talking about
yeah.
like the extras, the stretch goal stuff. Like if you want to unlock
Mhm.
stretch goals, you don't want to say US people only get the stretch goal. So you want to have because if you're going to fulfill it in these various regions, then you'll say this is the European version, this is the Australian version, whatever. Because
So,
if they're printing your
yeah.
books, they can probably make those cards.
Yeah, I don't know if they're at that stage yet. I think they're still unveiling the program, but obviously I'm a few months out from that problem, so they might be further along. But it solves a problem for me because it's cheaper for me and it's also cheaper for them, where they have a printer in the UK, so it's great.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to. I don't want to be shipping to Bangladesh. No offense to anybody in Bangladesh. If somebody said, Andrew,
Well, you're
I'm in
still going to have to pay. You're
Bangladesh.
still paying the shipping, even through fulfillment. You're still paying the shipping. But and the other thing is you're not required to ship internationally. I mean, if you don't want to take international orders, you don't have to.
I didn't for my Kickstarter that I did purposely because I didn't know what I was doing,
Sure.
and I said, "Let me not fuck it up."
Sure.
It's the idea that I did not want to send a $12 metal card to Australia. No offense to my mates down in Australia, but on my first one out, I'm not gonna kill myself.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Learn the ins and outs, and then expand outward. That's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
So that's how I feel. But eventually I'll figure out how to do it. But if Mixum can just print in Australia and ship to Australia, we eliminate a boat. And so the damage that can come to a book is reduced massively. Because we are also, the idea is that it will get to that person faster.
Sure.
And that's the other thing too, is that I want somebody to read my book as fast as humanly possible. Because I believe in customer service.
Yeah. I get it. I think at the end of the day, you're probably going to be better just having it printed here and sending it to Bangladesh. Incidentally, I have never sent a package to Bangladesh. I have no Bangladesh fans. No Bangladesh fans.
If somebody buys from Bangladesh and they are my first buyer from Bangladesh, I am not sending them just the comic. I'm going to send them a whole package all on me.
No, you're not, because that's going to be like $100 in shipping.
I'm going to take care of them. Is the point? They're going to get a few bonuses. Let's put it at that point.
That's fine. Yeah,
I got
get a lot of
problem
people in
taking
Australia.
A slight hit.
We get a lot of people just kind of general, like United Kingdom. I had one package one time to the Faroe Islands.
Where are those?
Like,
I'm so
I've had
sorry to those people. Like,
it's so strange. And then, but never again. I've never shipped to the Faroe Islands again. So that was a one-time thing. So apparently they hated my book. I've
it's okay.
had
It's okay.
like one to Israel one time.
That's kind of cool. I mean, I'm Jewish, so that's appropriate. But Israel's a Western nation.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think
what?
like the weird ones that I've had because I get a lot of United Kingdom, Australia. That's whatever.
Because
Netherlands and Germany.
right. So I view all of those places as Western countries. Like one of the things that I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to break into the African countries, and I have never had some
Okay.
as an interviewer, and
Oh sure. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
it's a different ball game where obviously I had Sanju on from India, and I would love somebody, and I would love to break into that. I don't think I've had anybody on from China, but I've had somebody from Singapore, and so obviously I want to become more global.
Yeah.
Eh,
I just thought about that. I don't think I've ever shipped to China. I've never shipped to Japan. Um, which is
I mean,
kind of interesting.
I've had my favorite interview from Japan was an American who moved to Japan, but she's an American. So she did the interview while she was in Japan as an American. It's like the weirdest thing I've ever like, because she's a foreigner in Japan, but technically counted. So I have had an interview from Japan by an American, like, and then
Interesting.
then I had a Japanese person on my show who was in California,
Okay.
and I was like, what a weird mix-up. So I do need to get somebody on my show who's Japanese from Japan while they're in Japan. It's politically not correct. I'll be the first to say that, but but yeah, no, I am not ready for international shipping. Probably on that first campaign.
It's not that difficult, but you have to just be aware. Really, it's just be aware of costs. And outside of that, you're packaging and shipping the same way you do anything else.
I'm just you know what it is. I'm gonna take it nice and slow because
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned in my life is that if I don't understand something or I don't know how to do something, I keep it nice and simple. Like my Kickstarter was simple and I was overwhelmed in that thing. And it was a miracle I funded. It was a miracle. I'm the first person to say, and I am thrilled with the result. But getting into it, and I got no problem admitting that I felt that if I didn't do it when I did it, I would have never done it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did it.
No, it makes sense. Makes
Um,
sense.
but there's a million things I would have changed. A million.
Well, but that's good that you can look at it and recognize it and be like, okay, we got to fix this, we got to change that, we got to add this, whatever it happens to be. That's good that you can look at it from, the standpoint of how do we level up the next time. A lot of people can't do that.
I'm the first person to say that on this Kickstarter, I am actually taking a loss. I am not taking a huge financial loss per se, but I think I am making a inroads into a cosplayer who is going to become a friend for life. But it was not the greatest business decision in the short run. But I think in the long run, it's going to be worth a lot more. But I am taking a bit of a loss on this Kickstarter.
Well, I mean, it's not really a loss because you've produced a book. You know what I mean?
No, a podcast.
You're spending money to well, that's true. But you have to you have to spend money to make money, and it's an over the time thing. It's there's plenty of dudes that do Kickstarters and stuff that they make a couple grand or whatever it is, and that'll pay for their printing or it'll pay for their art, but they still have to shell out money for the other side of it. So, you can't be afraid to put your own money into it.
I believe that I am definitely on the right track.
Yeah,
because I think the Kickstarter position, and correct me if I'm wrong, and feel free, as I always say to everybody, it adds credibility because I've been treated now differently in the comic community. I don't really deal with the podcast community, but since I funded successfully on Kickstarter, I am now treated differently by
well,
a lot of people.
there's a visual to it. There's a perception that people know who you are. For one thing, you know, there's a lot of people that wouldn't even know who you are um,
Some
until you're
people know me
there.
for a different reason, but that's not the point.
No, that it is it is part of the point. There's plenty of people that I only know because of Kickstarter. Plenty of our buyers that I literally only know because of Kickstarter. Um, so you know
I mean,
that's
I'll throw you a twist. I mean, I knew who you were before COVID,
Mhm.
but I reached out to you and said, "Hey, fuck it. What's the worst Tom's gonna say to me? No." It genuinely before COVID, I probably would have not have reached out to you. And I started doing this live stuff in March of 2020. I said, people are getting fucked over, and let me at least try. And I didn't, when I reached out to you, I'm like, man, this guy's not going to say yes to me. He's a big star. He's
oh
killing
my
it.
god, give me a break,
No,
big
no, 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 no,
star.
no. I went into it with such innocent intent, and this is why it was so weird for me when I was getting shit by people on Facebook and all this shit. I'm like, what the fuck, guys? Like, does anybody know my story of how like I have legitly worked my ass off to get here? And I'm like, I just want to interview cool people in comics, and people can meet me 25, maybe 50% of the way. So, no, seriously, before COVID, I'm like, when I reached out to him, I'm like, this guy's busy. He's slaying books. He's got all these great books. He's got a little bit of the bad girl vibe going on, and he's not gonna say yes. I mean, I'm a nobody, and I was like, man, you said yes. Holy shit! Like, this is awesome, and like, that's how I went into your interview.
I mean, there should be like no uh someone wants to put you an interview on their show, like the answer should never be no. You know, and unless you have some problem with the interviewer or how they run the show or whatever, the answer should always be, oh, let's do this. Um, so yeah, I was happy to do it. I was happy to do it.
But my intention was that the worst thing that's gonna happen is somebody says no, and look, I get no's, and but look, is I mean, people ask me all the time now for interviews, and I am definitely assessing who I want to put next to somebody.
Well,
And,
sure.
and my answer isn't no. It said let's try to figure it out. And the reason why I say that is I'm trying to take care of the people who paid first and foremost.
Mhm.
Because if somebody gave me $30, they become my priority, and I feel that I have to at least bring them $31 of value.
Mhm.
And that's how I approach things. And so, you know, but I'm also happy if I like your project too. That's the other thing too, is that I'm at the stage where if your project interests me, I'm probably gonna say yes if you pay me or not. Like if you got a cool concept, I'm in. And that's kind of how I feel. Where and also there's people like I just did Steph Wilson and Ben Dunn, and that Ben Dunn interview was probably one of the best interviews I've ever done in
Ben's a
my
fun
career.
dude. I've only met him once. I was on somebody else's show, Larry's show, and he had Ben on there. I've
Mhm.
never met him before in my life, which is crazy because he's been doing comics forever.
I was on that show. I came in late.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was a little buzzed.
Ben's a cool guy. I look forward to talking to him again sometime. Actually, somebody posted today. Um, they asked. This is not exactly how they put it, but basically they were talking about people who were passing. George Perez were about to lose, and so on. And they were talking about, hey, who do you regret? I think they were talking more about like movie people. But for me, it connected immediately, like with comic book people. They were like, who who did you have a chance to meet, and then you didn't, and now they're gone, and you regret it. And there's a lot of comic book people that we've lost over the
Dude,
last even decade.
this is one of the things is that obviously Denny is gone, rest in
Mhm.
peace,
Yep.
and I'm beyond thrilled that I took the shot.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a little bit emotional, but one of the people who definitely helped me do that and encouraged me to go after Denny was Paul Levitz,
Mhm.
who was a professor of mine. And then Howard Cruz, Paul Levitz, was also another one who kind of shot me, and Howard passed away. Um, and obviously, Howard was one of the leaders of the gay comics movement back in the day in like the 1970s, and really sort of shifted the underground movement as well. And another one that he hasn't passed away yet, but it's Dennis Kitchen. And beyond grateful for Paul Levitz, who encouraged me to sort of pursue those people. And Levitz really pushed me on Denny and Howard. And so I'm beyond thankful for Paul Levitz on that one.
Wow,
But anyway,
Dennis Kitchen.
Chuck's here.
That's a name that, like, Kitchen Sink Press. For those that don't know,
And so
that's a name you never hear anymore.
So when we talk about people who have done things and encouragement, I mean, both Denny and Howard were great. My only pissed off position is that Howard Cruz interview, I was not ready for it, and it's a good interview, but it is not one of my best. But there's a lot of great information in there, and I just wish that I got another bite at the apple with Howard Cruz.
Listen, sometimes these shows just they go where they go. I mean, even it doesn't even matter how well you're planned. I was on Chuck's show with Raven Gregory like last week. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, let's go left, let's go right, let's go down. Like, woo! Sometimes you just let the show go and it becomes whatever it becomes.
So my mistake with Howard was that it was, I think, my third or fourth interview in to my job ever. So raw interview, not ready, doing it in my parents' like dining room back in their old house, and man.
Everything I do is raw now. I just turn the camera on, and then whoever shows up, and whatever we talk about, we talk about. Chuck, we've talked about Transformers. We've talked about Skybound Comics. We've talked about, we've gone through a lot in our first hour, Chuck.
I'll let Chuck cover me because I gotta go to the bathroom really quickly. So I'll be right
back.
Oh
okay. My God. What's going on with you, Chuck?
Well, did we talk about those headphones? Those are newer, aren't they?
Nope.
That's not the same headphones.
Same ones.
Really?
Yeah.
They look like brighter and whiter and clean them.
I mean, it's catching a lot of reflection, I guess.
Okay.
Are you saying I'm dirty, Chuck? Is that
no? They look silver in this light now.
They're definitely. I mean, they're definitely catching light for sure. I've got one of these dumb, ring light things in front of me, so. Everything. I mean, but this is normal. This is like my normal setup. The ring light's there so that the green screen will actually work because you need to have the green screen lit up. But it also happens to light up everything that's here too. So I'm a little. Generally, I feel like I'm overlit. Like I don't do makeup or anything, so I feel like, am I shiny? Like what's going on here?
I'm always underlit. I should get one of the rings.
You're definitely in the Chuck cave right now.
Yeah.
100%. 100% in the Chuck cave. It's like Absolutely. Rob Schiff. Every time Rob Schiff comes on the show, he's like in some unfinished basement somewhere. Like it's total like Silence of the Lambs. Like, is there a hole somewhere?
I want to send him some moisturizer and
that's right.
In a bucket.
I should set up a GoFundMe.
Every year we need to send him a bucket with lotion in it. Yeah. Oh my God. So what's going on, man?
I mean, just working away, right? Like I actually finished home. Okay, so this is something funny. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I won't mention any names, but I was proofing a comic, and I noticed like a lot of really weird inconsistencies.
I'm sorry, it's mine. We don't have to pretend anymore.
Okay, it was a lot easier when I didn't have to mention your name, though.
I'm so sorry, it's too easy.
Inconsistencies in story, or
no, just like in how they did different things. Like, so when they did the sound effects, they would have asterisks beside it, like rumble, rumble, all that kind of stuff, and then suddenly they wouldn't. And then, like, I actually found I didn't have to proof this person a lot. Like, usually they'd be really good, and it would just be minor things, but all of a sudden there was like some really weird, like really clunky sentences, and everything was off. And I ended up working a lot harder than I normally did for them. So I didn't complain. I just did the job, put all the changes on there and told them it was done. And then they messaged me and they were like, yeah, so I found out that this new letterer, they don't just copy and paste my stuff. They memorize my words and then just write them on there. And I was like, what? And they're like, so do you know any other letters? I'm like, I will get you a fucking list. because in my mind, that's disrespectful. Like, like our words as writers, that's our art. And so when you're just like memorizing it, and you're like, oh, I'll get it close. I'm like, no. I
he's
put every
reading
word
the
in there.
script, and it's like Andrew went to the bathroom, and he like types Andrew went to the bathroom on the page.
Yeah. And it's not like separate windows or anything. It's just like they'll pull it up, read the script, and then go back to the page and type it in. I'm like, and if they didn't get it perfect, that's fine.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? Because they were made like I even saw some points where the writer had made suggestions like, yeah, that's not supposed to be like that. The sentence should be this. And I was like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you, shouldn't you have caught that in your script? Like, what the fuck? I came in after
man.
all that, and so yeah, it's just because this letterer just does shit, just types whatever, and I was like, that's fucked up, man. I've never heard of that.
It's different if the letterer says, "Hey, this sentence looks a little awkward," and reaches out, right?
Sure.
Because I've had a podcast editor at one point. He's like, "Hey, I was sort of at a fork and I didn't do anything. I could go this way or that way. What do you want me to do?" And he's like, "I sort of cut out the personal tangent that was in there." I'm like, "That's fine, man. No worries. You made the right call." But he at least said, if you want it in there, I could put it back in. But like for somebody to fucking go do that to somebody else's work without even asking.
That's really strange.
Yeah, I know, right? This is like an anchor being like, I don't like that. I'm going to leave that little bit out, or I'm going to draw something extra. You're like, what? It's not like a remark, man. You can't do that.
I don't like how Jim Lee drew that guy's arm, so I'm going to just fix it for him.
I'm going to change it. Like, no, you. So yeah, that's my newest story is that just happened. And I was like, every once in a while you think I've been through the ringer. I've seen. Not it all, but I've seen a lot. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, there's still a lot of weird new stories. Like, just when you start to get comfortable and you think, all right, I've seen most of the weird stuff. Nope.
Well, I just found Chuck's new podcast, Chuck's Weird Stories.
Oh, dude.
That's all of his podcasts. That's already his podcast.
It is. Oh, my word. Yeah. It's always
Chuck's
something.
Weird Editing Stories.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, but that's a really niche market. That's like for writers.
Right.
And nobody else.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
The audience level is... And my audience level already isn't that amazing. So to cut it down with an even more niche show, yeah, probably not a great idea.
Don't worry. I'll monetize it and I'll make both of us rich.
Do what you got to do, man.
I'll tell you, we had somebody do a comment from YouTube. Like that never happens.
Oh wow!
Like this was just earlier. I was like, I posted this up and because we were talking, and
I thought I was
like, wait a minute, that's a YouTube comment. Like that.
I thought it was
happen.
really funny.
It's weird because my YouTube channel, like it's been growing for some reason. Like I don't know why. Like I don't market it. I don't advertise it. Like it is solely a depository for. I did a thing, go up there, and suddenly I'm like getting views and like the subscriber count is going up, and I'm like, I don't tell anybody this is here. Who's watching this?
For me, I'm doing all right too. Like I've gained like 20 subscribers in the last
week. Well, that's because I'm on your show all the time. That's
exactly.
That's just a me thing.
But my problem is Chuck doesn't come on my show as much as he needs to, and it's a problem. And I
do anytime
on my Kickstarter, and still it doesn't.
I
literally
work.
just sent Chuck the link right now, and he came on. So clearly, he will whore out to whatever show is happening.
Whore out isn't even the wrong term. It's so right. Like I can't even I can't fight that. That's so true. No, he was literally. This is what I got. I got chat and then this StreamYard link, and I'm like, I just said, "Is this live?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, I'll put my hat on." Fine.
I was watching wrestling, and I'm like, "Fuck it, this is much more entertaining."
Oh shit! Oh my boy, we do have a ring light.
Hey, my boy Declan Grant's wrestling tonight, and he's gonna fucking defend his H2O championship title. Guy's great.
If it's not Orange Cassidy, I don't care. That's literally where I land with wrestling right now.
That's
I will,
okay.
anytime Orange Cassidy is doing anything, I'll pay attention.
Well, I'll
and-
just say
and
this: Leva Bates broke me and my ex up.
I don't even know what that name is.
She's a wrestler, and she's
Like you
in
said,
AEW.
Stephanie McMahon earlier when you were talking about that book, The Tribe of Mentors. I was like, yo, Stephanie McMahon, that's a unique. But I really like her. I mean, that's my era when she was like married to Triple. I mean, they still are, but on the
They
show
got
when they were married to
3
each other,
beautiful kids.
I was like, she's it.
She's brilliant. She is an amazing businesswoman, and she deserves amazing respect.
Listen, Shane is the one that got canned, not Stephanie. So
that is true. That is true. He's
what are you doing down there? You have like a strobe light happening. This is like disco. No, I'm rave Chuck.
Wendy gave me. I didn't realize she has a fucking she has a ring light, and I'm trying to get it to work.
In case anybody doesn't know, I'm a huge WWE fan, and I am Team WWE all the way. So
who doesn't know that?
I will take every hit necessary, and I'm okay with that. I'll take the L.
I literally haven't been a wrestling fan since I was like 10. And I'm not attacking wrestling. It's just the people who I was hanging out with who like wrestling.
Right. I'll take the suplex. If you need the suplex me, I understand. I understand. It will not affect our friendship.
It's been so long since I liked wrestling. The last time I saw anything that was wrestling, Coco Beware was wrestling. All right, about that.
Shit.
Okay,
that's some 80s stuff right there.
Coco Beware.
Yeah, that is some 80s reference right there for you all. For those of you that aren't 50, Coco Beware was a dude who came in because animals were a big thing in the WWF.
He had a parrot, right?
And he ran around with a bird for some reason that did nothing. He just ran around with a bird.
I believe I have to leave now.
Snake
like clearly, I believe Chuck just broke me.
The parrot wouldn't fly around and poop on anybody. Like the parrot served no purpose other than let's give this guy something to do. And this was
it was stage dress. Yeah, that was it.
I am broken now. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you.
That's how old school of a fan I am.
I am broken.
That's
now.
when I started. I mean, I remember vaguely watching wrestling. Like, I have a few early wrestling memories. Like the first time I watched wrestling was just random, like late night. It was on weird channels, and I remember seeing the British Bulldogs, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that they were cool, and they fought the team at the champions at the time, the British Beefcake and Valentine, the Dream Team, Beefcake and Valentine. Yeah. So we're going back pre-WrestleMania 2 and all that kind of stuff. So and I was like, wow, these guys are really good. They're going to win the championship. Oh, they didn't win. And then I'd watch them again, and then they're going to win the. Oh, they're not going to win it. And then WrestleMania 2 came, and I was like, fuck this. If these guys do not win, I'm not watching wrestling anymore. And they won the championship, and I was kind of hooked on wrestling. But what was really crazy, the craziest moment for me was because this is well before I understood that this was, quote unquote fake, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. It's staged. Fake? What are you talking about?
So there was a show that came on, and it was Hogan and Paul Orndorff in a tag team against Big John Studd and somebody, the Heenan clan. And so I'm watching this, and it's basically going off normal wrestling, but it's mostly Hogan, and Orndorff is not getting tagged in. So it's mostly Hogan. They end up winning, and Orndorff's like, yeah, okay, we won. They're holding up their arms, whatever. And then Orndorff clotheslines Hogan and puts him on the ground. And I was like, here's me thinking this is all real, like this is boxing or whatever. And I'm just like, what the hell just happened? and then he picks up Hogan and gives him the pile driver. And I lost my mind. I was like, this good guy just went bad. Like, what is happening in this world? And it was a fantastic heel turn, but that's one of my early things. And then the first Saturday Night Main Event I ever saw was Jake the Snake putting Steamboat's head into the concrete with the DDT. Again, that was real. But I didn't understand the fakeness of it. But that was actually real. He knocked Steamboat clean out. If you watch the Jake the Snake stuff, that was a legitimate, like, he put him out. He was gone.
Yeah.
But there was some wild 80s stuff, man. There was some legitimately wild 80s stuff.
Yeah,
Especially if you were so stupid that you didn't understand that this was all, rigged. And
I came into wrestling like about maybe 4 years after I came into comics.
oh my God.
high school.
Listen, this guy came into comics in like the 2000s, man. I don't even know if we can be friends with him anymore. Like, it's so bad.
That's when I started to leave.
So I came into wrestling right as the John Cena and Edge feud was starting, and that's what I was like, man, this is awesome. This is everything. Where like John Cena threw Edge into the Long Island Sound, and then he was like, "Come on, Lita, a slut." It was great, like the entire thing. And I'm like, this is everything that I want to be in my life. And like I was like, man, Unforgiven happened at that point, and I had a blast. And every Monday night, I'm like, man, this is everything I want in my life. This is everything. And people in like high school were sort of leaving, and I'm like, man, I'm all in. I'm all in. And I'm a big wrestling fan, and all I can say is that I had a blast and watching wrestling all throughout high school, and like greatest run ever. Greatest run ever.
See, I remember when satellite dishes were a thing. Like, oh my God, you have satellite? Like, what the hell? How rich are you? So we had a satellite at my dad's place, and they had all kinds of crazy fucking channels. And so I found like old NWA wrestling stuff. Like it wasn't WWF. It was like these weird things. And again, same thing. Like, I thought all this was real. Like, they had this United States Championship, right? And I turned on this match, and a Russian, Nikita Koloff, won the United States Championship. And I was just like, I don't understand how this happens. What, crazy, just craziness. Definitely, listen, everything was better back in the day. Everything. No one can tell me that now in sports is better than back in the day. In any sport. You can enjoy it. Like, I love football, man, but 100% I can watch these games and be like, we can't even touch the quarterbacks anymore. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, at some point, this isn't a sport anymore.
So I'm going to challenge you on one point. UFC, I think, is better than anything else that's ever done.
Well, UFC and MMA evolved a lot. Like, if you go back to early days, a lot of that was just dudes choking each other out on the mat. And they really had no rules. I mean, everything was like, just go, man. So it evolved into a very specific type of sport.
I think, look, I enjoy UFC. I think that is the only thing that has gotten better in sports. And the women's division in UFC changed the fucking
I think the
game.
only thing I don't really like about that stuff is that every time I watch it, it's like 10 seconds and it's over. Like, oh my God, Conor McGregor and this guy's going to be such a great... Oh, it's over.
I mean, the Nate Diaz fights, McGregor versus Diaz, those fights are amazing fights. But I agree with everything else. But I agree.
Like, I remember when Ronda Rousey was just like 5 seconds, it's over. 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, who's watching this? Who's paying for these 5-second matches?
Ronda was great in dominating, and then she got rocked, and she got rocked again. And the problem is that, like, she doesn't know how to get unrocked, and that's why she's making like $3 million in WWE now.
Unrocked? I don't know. That's good. I like that. How do you get unrocked? That's good. I like that.
I remember
people's elbow.
I got into UFC because I had a bunch of friends who would pay-per-view the UFC, and then we would all go over there and we'd play poker because I'm an avid poker player. And I didn't give a fuck about UFC. I was like, great, these guys get all excited, and I can start making some weird moves and take some money. Like, it was terrific. And I remember at one point, one of the guys was like, hey, man, we got to stop the game for a minute. So they turned off the clock, and I'm like, what? Why are we stopping the game for this fight? And they're like, because it's going to be short. And sure enough, it was just like super just bam rock, and it was done in like less than a minute. And I was like, okay, all right, I get that. That's fine. Like, I didn't want to have to sit around and watch UFC for 5 minutes. I didn't mind, like, you fold and you have something to look at while you're waiting and you're bored. Yeah. But yeah, all right, cool. If we're all gonna sit and watch the fight for a minute, okay, whatever.
I mean, I love watching UFC, and I've paid to watch UFC fights, and I enjoy all of it, and I love.
Is it like $40 a fight or something stupid like that?
I paid a fuck
Something
ton
like
more
that,
for
yeah.
wrestling. Like seriously, like
There were lots of wrestler brothers in the 80s. Like there were the Von Erich brothers and there were a lot. And a lot of them kind of came in and out of different federations and so on.
The Hearts.
The
Owen
Harts
and
are
Bret
not
Hart?
brothers. Those Jim Neidhart and all those guys. Well, there is actually, you're right. Owen Hart and
Bret Hart.
Owen and Bret were brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was more the 90s.
But Neidhart, what didn't he like marry in?
He married into the family, yeah.
Because his daughter is Natalia in
Correct.
WWE.
Yeah. He married into the family, yeah. They came through the Wendy's drive-through. I was working in Corpus Christi, not the Von Erichs. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, there was a lot of I don't know if like the Killer Bees. I don't know if they were brothers.
I mean, we know the Bella twins are sisters. We know that.
Yeah,
much.
but she's talking about the 80s. I'm trying to get back. Going back to real wrestling here.
What? And it's funny because she's talking about a brush with, and here's the funny thing is that like she's talking about a brush with celebrity,
Yeah.
and I don't even discuss that with people anymore because now that we see all these celebrities at conventions and shit, it's like everybody has a story, and it's almost never a brush. It's something like really cool and it goes on for a couple minutes, and it's also much less interesting of a story because usually it's like, well, I paid $50 and I went over and I hung out with them and we talked about
this.
this.
This is my favorite comic story. Is that so? What wound up happening, and I'll tell it because it's on a comic and it's in my basement, so I'm not gonna go get it because I'm slightly inebriated. But what wound up happening is that pretty much I went to an event at the Library of Congress, and Paul Levitt and Dan Jurgens were speaking about Superman 80 years. And I said to Dan, hey, I'm going to bring you a Batman Beyond book. Maybe you could do a little stinger on the book. For those who don't know what a stinger is, it's kind of a little banger tattoo that you bring out in about 30 to an hour at the most. Thinking, hey, Dan's going to be busy, just a little bat symbol on the book changes the value of the book. Because I'm bringing him a blank cover.
Like a remark.
Yeah, like not even a remark, like a bat symbol. 5 seconds. Dave Finch did me a thing that took him literally 30 seconds to do. But what wound up happening is that I bring him a blank cover. His handler knows not to interfere. He does me a quick whole head Batman sketch for free. Book's getting graded. Now his handler says, oh, by the way, Will Friedel's here. Will Friedel, for those who don't know, is Eric Matthews in Boy Meets World. He's also Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond. He says, wait right here. His handler now goes behind stage, speaks to Will Friedel's handler, and then he comes to me and says, come here. And now he brings me, my dad, and CGC's with me. Book's getting graded.
Wow.
I go behind stage. They stop Will Friedel's line. Will Friedel comes up to me, shakes my hand, and we do the sort of bro fist thing where you grab somebody's hand, and then he signs the book for free. Meanwhile, we got a Dan Jurgens signature, head sketch on it, and then Will Friedel signs it for free saying, I am Batman, ... on the book. CGC witnesses the entire thing.
He's
but
not
comes
Batman.
back as a
Michael
9.8.
Keaton's Batman. He's not Batman.
but it's a Batman Beyond book.
He's not,
and I'm
he's not Batman.
No.
Stop it. Stop it.
No, stop ruining my moment, Tom.
Heresy.
But this is like one of those moments in comics that makes you a fan. Where
Sure.
it's the idea that some handler understood the significance because I'm on crutches and say, hey, I'm not pushing my luck. I already know I won the war. I don't need to push any further.
Yeah,
And I
you
was
never win every
thrilled
battle. That's cool.
with just Dan sketching on my book. Because CGC was like, Dan doesn't usually sketch on books. Because Dan apparently remembered me from the night before. And there were people saying, could you sketch on my book? Dan was like, I'm not interested. He sketched on my book instead because he knew it was getting graded. And that's the whole thing the handler knew. Where the handler was an experienced handler for Dan. And that's the difference, and this is what I like to talk about on my show a lot, is it's always wonderful when you have a handler at a convention when you're getting a book graded who's experienced. I had a Dave Finch position where Dave Finch threw a stinger on a book. The handler knew not to interfere because the handler was older than other handlers. Like Tom King's handler was like 23. Dave Finch's handler was like 43. There's a big difference between that because the handler knew.
The fact
not
that
to
we need
interfere.
handlers is just driving me batshit. Because I remember the days that you'd be in Artist Alley and you'd be standing in front of somebody trying to get a sketch, and someone would come in next door and like, oh shit, that's Sam Keith. He just like showed up. Oh shit, that's like Dale Keown. He just like showed up, and they just are there, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get in that line, and you just like get your shit. Nowadays that we have this idea that these guys need handlers, like, come on, this is not Gal Gadot. We do not need handlers for these people. Give me a break. Give me a break. You can handle your own shit, people.
I understand about Will Friedle but like the entire line when Will Friedle came back to me behind the stage where all the celebrities come in, like that line was confused completely. I'm like, yo, bro, like, like I was completely in shock, like the entire thing, because I understood, and I'm a huge Boy Meets World fan. I'm like, oh my god, like what the fuck's happening? And the book comes back as a 9.8, and it's my favorite comic of all time because it's not the comic.
It was the Von Erichs. I was right.
It's the story behind it.
I'm just saying I was right. It's fine. It's fine.
It's funny. One of the greatest marketing things that I did for a buddy of mine at a comics convention was all because of a shitty handler. My buddy Doug, who tables with me all the time, Doug Brown, shout out to him and Stormy. He's sitting beside me. He's like, we were at Dallas Fan Expo last year, and he's like, hey man, I'm gonna try putting chocolates out there and see what happens. And I was like, okay, good luck. I hope that works. And you know, people would walk by, can I have a chocolate? Yeah, and then he'd maybe be able to talk to them for a second, but usually they just grab a chocolate and kind of go. And Sam De La Rosa's over there. This isn't his fault, but he had this handler who was probably like well into his 60s. I don't think it was a handler. It was probably just somebody who was helping at his booth or whatever. But he comes over, grabs a handful of chocolates, and then walks away like we're some kind of fucking like what the fuck? I got
not Halloween, dude.
Right? And you're like you're fucking dust, man. You don't need all that chocolate. You're gonna die next week anyways. So I was really pissed off. I grabbed one of my cards and I wrote on the back of it, if you're gonna take a chocolate, listen to my fucking pitch. And then I put it down in front of the basket, and I didn't tell him. And so somebody walks by and they look down and they go, all right, let me hear your pitch. And Doug's like, what? And he goes, let me hear your pitch. Pitch me your book. And he's like, okay. And all of a sudden, people are coming to his table and telling him, okay, pitch my book. And then he would pitch, and sometimes they would buy, but usually they'd go, okay, thank you. They'd grab a chocolate and they'd leave. And he was like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, oh, yeah. So I put this note here and I showed him the note, and he kept that. He still has that card. And now whenever he goes to a show,
let me tell you my favorite thing that your co-creator of Bilal, and I might have said that wrong. So
Sean. No.
He wrote me a very personal note, and I still have to post it. And I was like, man, that made me feel fucking good for like a week. Like I was like, oh shit, Sean, like you made me feel like really good, and you basically made me feel amazing and not shitty for an entire week. That's amazing by a post-it note. So, but my favorite trick that I like to use with comic creators, and why I think I got a little stinger by Dave Finch, is I brought him a book from 25 years ago. So what wound up happening at Awesome Con, same con that I got that Batman Beyond book, is I brought him a book of Cyberforce foil. Book I bought for $1. I didn't give a shit. It was not getting graded. I just wanted to sign it because it's a personal book. It's kind of a cool thing. He starts thumbing through it with his handler. He's like, oh, I wrote on this page and this page and this page. I did this shit. And like, meanwhile, there's like 50 people behind me. And he's like, I don't give a shit. Like, he spent like 10 minutes with me thumbing through the book. You want to talk about like not giving a fuck? It's like, oh
Well-
yeah, you're getting a book graded. Yeah, I'll throw a stinger on it, no problem.
This goes back to something that I talk to people about all the time too, with like commissions that you want to get at cons. If you go up and ask somebody for a Batman commission, they have done a Batman commission probably 1,000 times. You're probably going to get one of the same thing that he gives to everybody else for the most part. If you go in and you're like, okay, give me, whatever, Princess Python, he will probably never have drawn Princess Python in his lifetime. And you're going to get something that is truly original and unique to that artist because it doesn't exist anywhere else. When I went into the CrossGen booth way back in the day, George Perez was working for him. And so this was the first time I'd ever met George. I was like, I don't want him to draw a CrossGen character. And I don't want him to draw Wonder Woman because he's drawn Wonder Woman 1,000 times.
Yeah.
What can I possibly do? And then it hit me and I got up there and I was like, hey, George, can you draw me a JJ? And he was like, what do you mean? I said, JJ Sachs. That's his creator-owned book with Sax and Violence from Epic in the 90s. I was like, can you give me a JJ? And he looked at me like, you know what that is? And I was like, of course. It's a great book. It's your thing. And he was like blown away. And so he did a really great JJ sketch. And again, everybody has a George Perez Wonder Woman sketch. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but everybody's got one. So if you go to cons and you go into to Artist Alley and you're getting sketches, obviously we all want the characters that we like. I mean,
that's one of the things.
We get it. But if you can variation on it, like don't ask for Batman, ask for, I don't know, ask for a specific Batman, ask for a Michael Keaton Batman or a Christian Bale
get
Batman.
a Red Hood.
Get something that's out of the, hey, we're going to give you this nice thing with the bat ears. It's like, dude, 1 million people have these things. You're going to get a much better collection of stuff over time if you can allow yourself to step out of your box and find those. Like I had this weird, who the hell did it? Chris Marinin, who was a Wonder Woman artist for a long time, among other things. He did a Punisher versus Shooting Star for me. So it's the Punisher shooting his bullets and Shooting Star shooting her stars out of her gun. It's like no one on the planet has this piece of art. So the more unique you can be with your stuff, the better stuff you're going to have.
So what I was going to talk about is I have an Elias Chazudis commission, and he did a cover that is known as Firefighter Sexy Samantha. And basically, it's a girl standing in firefighter straps covering her boobs. And you see a little pink thong holding up the suspenders. And I said, hey, man, I brought him a Van Helsing. And I was like, hey, do Firefighter Sexy Samantha with Van Helsing. And obviously, he did the cover. And he's like, oh, this cover? And I knew he was going to knock it out of the park. But he's never done a commission like that. I said, hey, do your thing. I said, I want it in this style. And it's an amazing cover. It has like 10,000 likes on Instagram. And the story behind that is that I'm walking. I didn't pick up the book yet. And I don't know what the book looks like. And I'm in the Zenescope book. And I'm like, oh, man, you're looking at this cover and this cover. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm a huge Elias Chazudis, fan. And Chris Sampson, who has left the company at this point, just recently, I think in the last 6 months, it's like he shows me the cover before I even seen it. I'm like, that's my book. That's my book. And I say it right to them. And I'm like, that's my book. I know that's my book. He just did that because that's what I asked for. And I'm picking it up in about an hour. And it was one of those things where it was just like, because nobody's ever asked him for a Firefighter Sexy Samantha cover. And whenever I go back to cons, I'm doing another 4 of them on sketch covers. And it's going to be a whole set. And then I want to sell it to Zenescope. And all I want in return is a free cover of them sending me, so I don't have to pay them $20 for it. That's the only thing I want. And I'm paying like $275 per cover. But I'm planning to do Alice. I'm planning to do Robin and a variety of other characters. And I have the originals. It's a beautiful fucking cover. All in Copic marker, but he's never done it before because all he does is he does Star Wars. And I think he appreciated the fact that I understood his work. And that I was like, I want what you have already done. And he's never done one of those. And it was awesome. And I think he was super thrilled. And like my mom was all concerned. I'm like, he's gonna knock it out of the park, Mom. Don't worry about it. $275 is nothing to me on this one. I had complete faith in the man.
The best part of that story is the fact that your mom was concerned. That she somehow I hope he doesn't fuck it up.
No. My mom was concerned. My dad was pleased. That's the important part.
I would bet. I mean, in a lot of cases, Wendy, how much they've drawn depends on the artist. So if you go to a Top Cow artist, they've drawn Witchblade 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But yes, that's a fair point. I remember there was a con once where, oh my God, his name, Mark Bagley. Mark Bagley was there, guy who created Carnage. And so I knew one of my artists was sitting next to Mark. And he was watching what was happening with Mark through the con. At one point, Mark turned to the artist that I know, and he was like, dude, if I have to draw Carnage one more time, I think I'm going to die. Because everybody was coming to his booth being like, can you draw me Carnage? Carnage? I want Carnage. Like, holy crap. I can't even imagine how mind-numbingly crazy that would have to be. Because, again, are you going to just draw Carnage 500 times the same way? How do you draw 500 times differently? Right? It's so difficult. I can't even imagine from like an artistic standpoint.
It feels so sapped.
How to do that? Yeah. And especially when the artist is like, yeah, I can't do this anymore.
Well, it's funny because it reminds me of one of my tattoos I got at a tattoo shop where they were doing this thing with. The guy was trying to break the Guinness Book of World Records most tattoos in 24-hour period. So in my small town, so we all got free tattoos, and they would give you this little square, and he would draw like a little thing inside that square, as long as it was a fairly simple thing. And I got my wife's initials inside the square and whatever. He did that, and it was cool. But he's doing that, and then we ended up, I'm talking to him as he's working away on the other person. They're prepping me, and I was like, how you feeling, man? Like you're in your final 5 hours. Like, how's it going? He's like, honestly, I feel good, but I know I'm not gonna make it, and that's kind of daunting. And I was like, why aren't you gonna make it? Like, from what I've heard, you've been killing it. And he's like, yeah, the thing is that I forgot who it was, but one of those she was a big female tattoo artist, one of the big ones. Anyways, she did that, but all she did was draw the number 13 on everybody. Anybody who came by, you get a 13, 13, 13. And he was actually giving people little versions of what they wanted, whether you want a clover or whatever.
Yep.
And so, yeah, he's going through, and I was like, holy fuck, can you imagine for 24 hours just drawing fucking 13 over and over for like, yeah, you can do it, but what the fuck does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to the people who got the tattoos. It doesn't fucking mean anything to you. Like, yeah, you're in the Guinness Book of World Records, but who gives a shit? You were just like a fucking bullshit factory for 24 hours. It feels like a waste. So I totally get where Mark's coming from. That sucks.
Yeah. I remember when I literally, that story I told you where I was in Artist Alley and then Dale Keown sat down. That happened to me. Yeah, I was in line for somebody. Dale Keown sat down and there was no line, and I went whoop, and I got in line for Dale Keown, and I was like, and I knew this was prior to Pitt. He was Hulk guy at the time. I was like, I cannot possibly ask for Hulk because he's drawn the Hulk 1,000 times. So I asked for this crazy character called Speed Freak that was in one issue, and he died. He was killed. They brought him back later, of course. But I was like, so can you do like Speed Freak? And he was like, is that like that crackhead, that silver crackhead with the long ponytail? And I was like, that's him. Yeah. So he did this ridiculous, dumb one-off character. But again, you made that crazy connection with the work that isn't just okay, I'll draw the Hulk again.
See that's so interesting, because I was in a comic shop called Oh Yeah Comics, and they had Ryan Brown and Charles Soule there, and they were sketching for free in the book, and everybody was asking for Batman or Wolverine or Iron Man. And I said to Ryan, I said, draw whatever you want, man. If you're sketching for free, you draw whatever you want. Ryan Brown, all of a sudden what he does, because I think he wanted to sort of stick it to Charles a little bit, is that he draws this big thing on my both spread pages. So he's only doing one spreads. And he draws a gigantic horse like centaur creature, and he leaves no room purposely for Charles. So Charles has to draw like an angle. You can see Charles trying to draw like a little stick figure, and like you can't even see it. It's like one of the funniest moments of my life, and I still think it's hilarious. But like you could see that Charles was having a hard time drawing his little stick figure. He had to draw it at an angle, and I just thought it was the funniest thing. Because if somebody's gonna sketch for free for me, the way I view it is that, you know what, is you can draw whatever you want. If you want to draw me being punched in the face, that's fine.
Draw whatever you want is oftentimes good, but it can also, I've also seen it backfire, where, because the artist is so used to being told what to do that they're like, I don't know what to, like, what can I possibly do that when you come back, I know you're going to be happy. Like they're so in the idea of whoever's buying this has to be happy.
But the way I saw it is that it wasn't what I was buying. He was sketching for free. So when somebody says I'm going to sketch for free,
but they still want that reaction, like, oh, that's so cool, man.
and he drew like a little koala on it, and it was curse words. The book. So clearly you get to do whatever you want, and I was just ecstatic, and the comic shop owner was ecstatic too. It was a great moment for everybody involved, and they were signing everything for free, and it was an awesome signing. And the entire great thing about that signing was that I got to buy the deluxe edition because my friend fucked up and got completely fucked up the night before, so we didn't go to the bar, so I had an extra $40 so I could buy the deluxe edition. So my friend did me a solid by getting fucked up on some weed that apparently screwed him up, that saved me $40 that I could buy comics with.
Yeah. Well, see, that's why give them some parameters. Like maybe go, you know what, man, I'm a huge X-Men fan. Go ahead and draw whichever one of the kind of lesser known X-Men you want. I'll love it no matter what. And at that point, they get to go, oh, okay, cool. Fuck it, I'm going to draw a long shot for you or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they get to have some fun and do whatever they want. And because you're an X-Men fan, you'll love pretty much whatever they give you. So
my thought process is that he just went through, because I got to witness 4 people asking directly what they wanted, and I could see Ryan getting annoyed. I said, dude, draw whatever you want. Like I don't care. You know,
well, that's what I'm saying. You go outside the box. And that all of my stuff, actually, I used to do, well, I mean, I used to get normal things, you know, but and like when I met George Perez, I did that. When I met at the same year at the CrossGen booth, it was oh my God, Steve Epting. Steve Epting was there, and he was doing their pirate book at the time. So I was like, draw me the pirate ship. He was like, you want the ship, not the girl? And I was like, yeah, I don't want the pirate ship. So he was like, cool. And so he drew the pirate ship, you know, so, and then that eventually all of that kind of stuff, my thought process of go outside the box, but get something cool became, because it led into my time making comics, became, okay, fuck this. I want people drawing Critter. And so I started to get Critter sketches from people.
Oh, cool.
And that was awesome because I guarantee you they never drew Critter before. And it was great to get like the reaction from the people. It's like, hey, I've got a personal characters. They do that all the time. But what you want is the reaction, right? And you want hey, can I do a personal character? Yeah, sure. Okay. Here's the design. And you like to see them go, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, and then I kind of knew that, again, I was kind of onto something like, oh, okay, I think I did this right. Because everybody that's drawing this is kind of game for it. They're like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like what this is. I like how it works. I remember Dave Nakayama. I met him before he was Dave Nakayama.
Some DNA, baby.
And
I love DNA.
He was one of the first guys that I got a Critter. I bought his sketchbook thing, and if you bought the sketchbook, there was a spot on the back where he'd do like a headshot just for free.
He's
and
the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, he's super cool. And so I was like, oh, well, can you do my character? And he was like, yeah, okay. And so I sent him, and he literally sat there looking at it like, this is really good. And he was very excited about it, very enthused. And I was like, I'm really happy to do this. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck yes. And then, it took, Jesus, it took almost 15 years later. We finally got him to do a real cover. But yeah, it was wild to meet people early in their career, their career and my career.
Great cover.
I stopped. The last one that I did right before I started publishing, the last one I got was Joe Benitez. Joe Benitez did a Critter sketch. And that was the last one I got before I was now paying these guys to do actual covers. And I was like, I don't know that I really need the sketch anymore because they did an actual real cover.
Yeah.
So I kind of dropped out of that. But then once we started doing sketch covers, I kind of went back into it. But again, it was, hey, here's a Critter cover. Here's a Ursa Minor cover, do this, do that. So I kind of do a little bit of that, but even then, not so much. It's just kind of mostly for fun. And then sometimes we give those things away too. So we'll have, raffles for the Kickstarters or whatever, or even during shows like this, we'll be like, well, we're just going to, whoever's here, ask a question. And then, we're going to give away a sketch cover. So, there's some amazing stuff down in the basement. I'll tell you that. There's some amazing stuff sitting there that will happen at some point.
I think one of the things about Chazus is that all the people at AwesomeCon were asking for Star Wars DC stuff, and nobody was asking for Zenescope stuff. And he's made his career in Zenescope. And I think that's one of the things that he truly appreciated. And you can tell when an artist really puts effort into a sketch cover. I mean, I know for a fact when an artist does it, or when an artist is having a lot of fun, with something. Like Ryan Brown in that Cursewood book was having a blast drawing a somewhat shitty sketch in a book that was clearly the most inferior position, but he understood that that's what I wanted. I said, dude, draw whatever you want, knowing that I didn't give a fuck, knowing that he needed a break from all the bullshit that he was getting. Like, he had to draw Iron Man so technical, or Wolverine or Batman. And he's like, dude, Chris Woods is the most ridiculous book on the planet. Draw it the way Curse Words is supposed to be, and sort of stick it to Charles Soule. And I like Charles, but it was funny because Charles was like struggling to draw his little stick figure, and it's at a diagonal. It's one of my favorite books that I ever bought. And that's the thing that I think people don't understand, is that if you make your artist happy, guess what? Like, Chazus put so much effort into that sketch cover because I think he appreciated the fact that somebody said, there's somebody who likes Zenescope. And that's what I tell people. If you want a good cover or a sketch cover and you're going to get it graded because it came back as a 9.8, you know what it is? Do something that the artist gives a fuck about. Because if they give a shit about it, they're going to do better work for you.
Yeah. I have a podcasting question for Tom. Tom,
okay.
Right? Do you have an affinity for co-hosts or guests who are half in the bag? Like tonight, were you like, oh shit, Jim Noble is sober. Who else is drinking?
Well, basically, yeah, you weren't here for the start of this. So basically, I had like 3 things happen today, like in the course of an hour, that just like inspired me and pissed me off to no end. And I was like, I have to just start talking and get shit out of my head. One of them was I was watching. We'll go quickly because people
they've seen this.
Heard it earlier.
I'll just interject quickly. I just commented on his Instagram. That's how I got involved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I made the post like, who wants to go live, and I saw him, so I was like, okay, he's on, so we'll go ahead and do this. So do you know the movie with Ashton Kutcher called Jobs, about Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
So have you seen it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So how many times have you seen it?
Like once, the one time.
Okay, that's what everybody says. One time. Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to send you a copy. You need to watch it 5 more times. That's where this came from, because I love this movie. And it has, I got all new layers tonight because I actually watched the commentary from the director, and it just like changed. Like holy shit, you're right. Like I see this now. But it's such a great movie beyond the Steve Jobs story and the Apple story. Like if you just peel back, like forget Jobs and forget Apple, and just listen and watch the creative process element of it, where him and Woz are basically like, we're at zero. I made this keyboard thing. Let's go make a thing. It works on levels for anybody creating anything. And I mean, right down to the scenes where Jobs is like cold calling, hey, buy our computer, and people are hanging up. I mean, that's like me calling comic book stores going, you want my comic? Fuck no. And then hanging up on me. What's that?
Oh, I'm there too.
Yeah.
So
it has so many layers of just like, here's how you create, here's kind of how you stay the course. And obviously he gets jacked and then comes back. But again, we're not talking about just the Steve Jobs element, but just the perseverance of creating something from nothing and building it into something. So it's really good. The second part, the part that really hit me today though, was when I watched the commentary. The director was talking about how he shot this movie, because basically every scene is just talking heads. And he's like, I have to really figure out how to make talking heads like exciting and interesting. And so he was going through all these things, showing like, okay, we're at the beginning of Steve's career, so we kind of shoot it this way. We go into the middle, we kind of shoot it this way. And I was like, holy fuck, I've seen this like 50 times. And I didn't even notice these little tiny details. Like all the time, every time that you have Steve in his inspirational creative moments, he goes J.J. Abrams, and there's like lens flares happening, and it's like woo. And then when he gets into like, he sells the company, on stocks, everything comes down to like this like fluorescent lighting. It all changes because he's changing, and it's just like, what? So from a storyteller standpoint, I was like, God damn, this is all stuff again that relates to creative anything, whether you're writing or drawing or whatever. I'm like, holy fuck, this guy. And this was his first ever movie too. This director was his first ever movie. So I was like, oh wow, God damn, this movie just opened up for me. And so I was feeling all like inspired and like, like, oh, this is fucking cool, man. Oh yeah. And then I started reading Facebook. That was a mistake right from the start. I was like, I'm gonna read some things on Facebook. And I came across this Meatball, who was somebody actually made a post. They were in one of these comic book groups, and they were like, so this is my first Kickstarter campaign, trying to figure out what to do for my rewards. Like, I don't want to get too crazy with it. We'll have the comic, we'll have the PDF. I don't really want to do variant covers. What can I do? And people were like dropping things in and talking about what they could do. And this one guy basically comes straight out, and he's like, variant covers are a waste of your time, and blah 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 blah.
I gotta fucking triple tap that shit like Hunk.
I was like, I came back in and I was like, you're joking, right? And I laid it out. I'm like, you understand that this person is nobody. This book is nobody. Nobody knows who these people are. And the easiest way to gain even a toehold of traction is to put a variant cover out with an artist that has some sort of a following, that people would be like, well, I don't know this book, but I know this guy, so maybe I'll buy the variant because I like it, and then maybe I'll like the book. Like, that's literally how it works.
I mean, there's a company called Zenescope that has done that with.
Well, but this is even beyond. I mean, this is even at the lower level. I mean,
this is everywhere.
Yeah. And so he comes back and he's like, no. You can't do variant covers. It's going to cost too much. It's going to raise your printing costs. What you need. This is the part where I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He says, what you need to do is hire that artist to do art. Follow this now. Not put it on a variant cover, but instead put all that art on posters and stickers. And I'm just like, this is a book. No one knows who this dude is. No one knows who this character is. No one knows shit.
Why would I want your stickers? Why would I want your plans?
Let me interrupt.
And then,
through another position.
And then he comes after I went through all that stuff, and then he gave me that response. Then his immediate next response is, yeah, but I'm no expert. I'm like, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Don't give this guy, weird information. If you're going to sit here and argue with me and then come back and say, well, I'm not an expert. Well, then shut the fuck up. And then I went to his Kickstarter and I'm like, yo, dude, you have 11 days left. You have barely $1,000. You're not funded. Shut the fuck up. You're not helping anybody. And so I got in a super rage with this nonsense dude. And then that followed up with a guy who challenged me on Transformers trivia, and I'm like, no.
So
You're
to
gonna
talk
lose that
about the
too, buddy.
Kickstarter stuff. I just got into a debate with somebody, and it didn't end badly. You know, we're on amicable terms right now. But he's like, you should have a book that does 100,000. I'm like, what the? If you have a good YouTube channel,
100,000 in what?
So the guy was making the
In
argument
money?
that if yeah, 100,000. So this is what his argument was.
Yeah.
Is that if you have a good YouTube channel with one book, you should do 100,000. I'm like, what the
No,
fuck
that's
are you
false.
smoking?
That's
That's
bullshit.
That's false. Social
know,
media
yeah.
has no bearing on sales.
And
Or
I'm like,
minimal bearing on
because
sales.
the debate started off because obviously I sell some indie books, and I'm like, hey, I need a 40 to 50% discount because eBay takes their cut, hold time, and a variety of other shit. And I need a good deal for me to make because I went through how much it costs if I charge $8 shipping and it's a $20 book, and I'm buying it for 10, what it looks like in the end game, and I've run through the financials on it, and this entire thing, it looks like $6.38 is what I make on a $28 sale on eBay with shipping. So my point, if my shipping is $8, which is what it can be technically if you ship at the lowest position. But the guy was like, oh, if you have a good YouTube channel, you should do 100,000, 200,000. I'm like, what? On one book? I'm like, what the fuck are you smoking?
Yeah.
When have
That's
you
somebody
been
who doesn't know
reality?
the platform. That's just somebody who doesn't know the
Clearly.
platform.
Yeah.
Like,
Clearly.
Listen, there's artists who have hundreds of thousands of followers. That does not translate to hundreds of thousands of sales.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the social media reality is you can listen. There's almost 30,000 followers on the Big Dog Inc. page. I don't have 30,000 buyers on my
Yeah.
Kickstarters. I mean, it's just social media. I'm not going to say it doesn't mean anything, but it's such a minute. It's like when the Avengers movie comes out and millions of people go see it. Those millions of people do not trickle down to comic book stores and buy Avengers books. It
Yeah.
just doesn't happen.
It
And this is where I'm coming up with this frustration is all these people have all these bright ideas and this is how you do it. And this is how you do it. And I'm like, nothing you're saying is right.
Look, I'm the first person to say that the fact that I got funded completely and then some 114% on Kickstarter. I mean, I was like saying to myself midway into that campaign, I'm not going to make it. It's a miracle that I got funded. And I don't pretend. I got fucking lucky because no way I didn't get fucking lucky. And maybe part of who I am and what I've done and I pushed out and I worked my ass off there, but I don't fucking take it for granted that I got fully funded. I mean, I think I got lucky as fuck.
Luck's
really
not
do.
really built into the Kickstarter platform. I mean, yeah, it's just not a lucky place. You know what I mean? And the only luck that might show up is bad luck. You know, like where something goes wrong and
I'll put it a different
good
way.
luck.
I happened to be on a stream with Travis Gibb, and somebody pushed me over the edge and got me fully funded. And
Yeah, I
bought
mean,
a $120 package. I happened to be in the right place at the right
Yeah,
time.
it's
Made a good argument, and the person who got me fully funded, and then Pat Chan was on that stream, threw me $10 that pushed me over. That's how I got funded.
yeah, but that's
Yeah,
not
but
luck.
that's not luck.
That's
yeah.
not luck. The luck is the people you don't know that find you, and that's the luck. And that does. I mean, there is that's a real thing. And the hope is that you get that lucky, like, hey, I found this thing out of the blue, and they like whatever it is you're doing, and they come back. So that's the hope.
Yeah. So here's my luck story because it goes along with exactly what you said, Tom. I was on Twitter not too long ago, and this guy, somebody had randomly liked his post where he's saying, "Hey, I want to meet some cool people, some cool fellow comic creators." And I saw that somebody I knew had liked it and shared it, and so I was like, "Whatever." So I commented, "I like to think that I'm a pretty cool comic creator, so hey, what's going on? If you want to be friends, I'm cool with that." So he adds me, and then he goes, "I know you for some reason," and I'm like, "I'm just a guy, man." Especially on Twitter, I'm just another comic creator because I'm not. I don't have a lot of Twitter people. I just recently hit 1,000, and so I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't. I'm just another guy, man." And he goes, "Well, what have you done?" And I said, "I did Welcome to the Void and Belial." And the next thing I know, he puts up a picture of him holding Belial 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? I said, where the fuck? I know most of my fans. Where the fuck did you come from?
You deliver
He
everything
says-
by hand because you don't have that.
Right? And exactly. And so he says to me, he goes, it's funny, since I was young, I've had this recurring dream about the demon Belial. And so I have this thing where anytime I see anything with Belial on it, I have to buy it. And so it just so happened I was checking Kickstarter during your run. I saw Belial and I'm like, fuck it, I'm buying it. And he said, I loved it. Thought it was great. I can't wait for you to make another. I was like, oh shit, that's luck. That's
Yeah.
crazy luck.
Yeah.
But
So you want to hear a story about Chuck? And I've told
Chuck
this
story.
story that
Chuck story.
might not be luck.
Everybody
but
get
I
ready.
always want to hear a Chuck story.
I was in a financial rut, and I'm a little bit in that way too right now. But I picked up the Hooters book, and Chuck, when I was speaking, said, "Hey, I'm in a bit of a financial rut," and we were talking about the other variant. And Chuck was like, "Hey, yo, I'll just send you the other variant. No worries, man. Got you covered. Wherever this might be luck or just good business, but whatever Chuck wants now, it's built into the system." so since you sent me that other variant, it's like, yeah, man, no worries, man. This is costing me pennies in on the dollar. It's a good business position. Made my day. I didn't believe Chuck he was gonna send me. I was like, hey man, I bought the Steph Wilson cover. It like Steph's work, and that's what kind of happened. And got both the variants. I'm like, oh shit, fucking A. Like,
You mentioned the I think was it the Thomas Tenney one that you wanted to,
mhm.
or Chris Madd? I don't remember. It was one of the other covers though that
It
you
was
mentioned.
the one that I thought was on the iPad that I was just. It was funny because I said fuck. I convinced my parents to buy it for me as a Christmas present, this Kickstarter. And then I was like, oh shit, I can't afford it, but I think I bought the Steph Wilson one. I don't know which one I bought exactly. He's like, oh
Yeah.
guys, I'll throw it in as a note. No worries.
And I did.
And
I wrote a note. Get this fucker this. Like I could go back and take a picture of the note that I put that said, "Get this fucker an extra thing." And so I told Sean when he was doing it, because Sean does the fulfillment out of his house. I was like, make sure to put the notes in, because I wrote notes down for anyone. And I mean, for me, you were a podcaster who was showing us off. You were talking about us. You were great, and you were like, "Hey, man, I really love this cover." And I was like, "Well, then fucking have it. Like, I'll give it to you." You said you were having a rough go. Like, why not? You've done us a favor. You were really good to us, and we were happy to be on the show and shit. So hell yeah. So yeah, that's just good business. I mean, Tom, I'm sure you've done that kind of shit tons of times.
No, I don't give Andrew anything.
Yeah,
No,
I mean the people you like.
Look,
I am the joy that comes.
Yeah.
It's me. It's me. Yeah, it's me. Well, I was on Del Guzman's show the other day. They were doing their 1 year anniversary show, and they were doing some giveaways, just random giveaways. And so I was like, well, I can do a giveaway. And they were like, what? Why? We didn't ask you to. I'm like, yeah, I know, but we can do a giveaway. And so I just reached into a random box down here, like, okay, here, we're going to give this away. And they were like, holy shit. Okay, cool, man. So yeah, I mean, I do stuff like that, just
anytime you want to do a giveaway on my show, just let me know.
We can
I'll
do
be
that.
happy to interview you.
Yeah. We can do that. We can do that.
Especially when we come into podcast format, which is coming a lot sooner than I realized. It's a whole new audience, but that's going to be fun.
I'm blown away that everybody here is all YouTube tonight.
I know,
Holy
right?
shit. This is what I'm talking about. How is my YouTube channel going?
How many people do you have on YouTube?
I mean, it's not many, but there shouldn't be any, because I don't promote YouTube in any capacity. I don't say go to YouTube and subscribe. I don't do that.
I don't know how you guys know about what's happened in the last year and a half. What's happened is that Hot Topic used to approach people like Jessica Nigeri and a variety of other people. And hopefully I'm not going down the track of this way, because I'm slightly inebriated with my rum and coke. But anyhow, what wound up happening in the last year and a half is that Hot Topic as a company, and this is, I think, an indicative of what's going on, is they started approaching a lot of cosplayers who have less than 10,000 subscribers /followers on Instagram to wear their merch and promote their merch because they realize that the conversion rate on those people is massively more on a percentage base than somebody like the top cosplayers. And I'm smart enough to realize, and that's where I've been going.
Yeah.
And it's shifted my opinion, where if you look at my sponsorship, I can tell you for a fact that I have a 14x rate of return on Mixum. I have maybe on average 250 plays on my show. The fact that I have a 14x rate of return is unheard of in the business. And it just so happens that I understand what I've done with my sponsor. And I hope, and I am praying they renew for a third time. There's a reason why they renewed for a second time. And that is very important because viewership doesn't matter. It is conversion that matters.
Though it's nice to have viewers too.
Well, I've always found that I get like way more views on Facebook, and that's why we run these on both platforms.
Yeah, me
at
too.
the same time. I always get
Facebook's king
way
for
more
me.
Facebook.
Instagram is king for me.
I
YouTube
I
doesn't
can't
mean
even waste my
jack
time.
shit.
Twitter and Instagram, I can't waste my time.
I love Twitter.
The
I
only
personally
reason I
love
even use
Twitter.
Instagram anymore is because I can link it. Like you can actually link your Facebook to Instagram.
Yeah.
And so you just do one and it just automatically goes over there.
So
I do almost have 1,000 people over there now, out of the blue. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I guess
what
people are
matters
finding
for
there
me
somehow too, but I don't know how, because again, I don't, well, it's not true, because when I do these shows, people are like, hey, tell me how you can find the people. No, that doesn't make any sense, because we have a business account that's BDI Comics. My account is Critters Daddy, but I don't promote or market Critters Daddy. We promote and market BDI Comics. So every time I'm on a show, we should be sending people there, but somehow people are finding me. And now I'm almost at 1,000 Instagram
I'll
people.
just
Although I know
say,
some of those are just bot
I
girls,
would
that's
like
for sure.
to announce that you are my top follower for the month of February. I am very, very, very pleased.
Well, that's because you posted me like a million times, and I liked and liked and liked and liked and liked.
I was happy that you followed me. It made my day. It made my week, I should really say. I am a cheap date. I'm just going to say that. We go to Chili's, Texas Roadhouse. I am dirt cheap, guys.
Listen, everybody who knows me knows it's about the Red Lobster. That's where it.
Yes,
That's
even
where
I
it
know
starts,
If I knew
starts and
that,
stops.
you know.
Starts and stops.
I'm not even a seafood guy, but I've already decided if you and I end up hanging out, I'm just gonna have to fucking deal with it.
It's gonna happen.
Just like-
Listen, Red Lobster will give you a steak. It'll give you other things. There's other
Perfect.
things.
Yeah. That's what
It'll
I'm
be fine.
It's
It's like I used to
alright.
go with Eric Hoffman, who was my sort of my head minion. He got in a car accident a number of years ago, and we don't have him anymore. But he didn't like seafood either. But he knew he could get a steak and mashed potatoes and do all the things.
Yeah.
So you'll be fine. Trust me, you'll be fine.
I'd already decided someone's just gonna get the surf for my surf and turf, like whatever. Like,
So if me and Chuck are at a con, we're going through Texas Roadhouse afterwards. I'm sorry, Chuck, I've already decided. If me and Tom and Chuck are at a con,
Then we're going to Red Lobster.
Lobster afterwards,
going
and
Red
I will
Lobster.
suck it up.
That's correct.
I will
I'm good
give
with
up
that.
my stock position temporarily to inflate my Texas Roadhouse stock that has served me very well. Very well.
Okay.
I'll just
That's
say
fine.
that.
What's the Chuck go-to restaurant?
I don't necessarily have a go-to. See, yeah, I am a Hooters fan, but not for the titties. It's for the wings. I'm a big wing guy. But no, you know what?
Chuck,
Again,
you
my buddy
haven't met-
Doug.
Hey, Chuck, you haven't met my friend Nikki Zoll yet, have you?
No.
She was a top 100 Hooters model.
Okay.
It's all right. It's all right. She's slaying the dragon
I've-
right now, so don't
I've
worry
been
about it.
married for 22 years. Like, eventually, it's just
That
like,
shit doesn't matter.
all right, yeah, like that's great. They're lovely. Thank you. I appreciate you. That's
Oh, I'm
perfect.
not saying
More hot sauce,
anything.
please.
I'm
More
not
hot sauce,
encouraging cheating, Chuck. Don't think
I'm not.
that's what's happening.
No, I don't think
For
you
me.
are. I'm just like after a while, it's like,
Chuck,
okay.
Chuck,
So are you like
you
an
misunderstood.
Uber guy instead? Are you like,
Chuck.
hey, we're gonna get something delivered, or do you go out? I mean, obviously,
No,
the
we
pandemic is
do.
different.
We do go out, but usually, like my buddy Doug, he always wants to do Chili's or what's the other
Chili's.
Applebee's, Chili's or Applebee's or something like that. Like that's usually what they'll do. Whereas I'm like, what's cool around here? Like so I remember when we went to Dallas Fan Expo, I'm like, guys, where do you want to go for dinner? And immediately he's like, I'll look for a Chili's, and I'm like, fuck that. Like I've done a million Chili's with you, dude. We're in Dallas, let's go and see what else. So I asked a couple people, and someone was like, there's actually this place called the Maple Leaf Cafe, and it's a Canadian American restaurant, and it's got all Canadian. It's got a bunch of Canadian food, and I was like, "Fuck yeah! All right, I'm gonna get like a real poutine and shit." So
Okay, that's French food. It's like Canadian food.
No. Well, it's French.
What is Canadian food?
We do
besides Canadian bacon,
right? Well, okay, so I mean, Canadian bacon. We because we have Canadian bacon, you have things like we have a way better eggs Benedict because you use the Canadian bacon instead of that shitty ham you guys use. But also our desserts, we have like really like Canadian desserts like butter tarts and Nanaimo bars and all sorts of shit I haven't had in years. And so it was amazing. It was really great. And I was just so happy. I felt like home. And I'm sitting there drinking Canadian beer, which again, just wonderful. So, yeah, it was nice. And it was good to be able to do anything besides the same fucking restaurant. I just like to, I'm in a different city. What is that city? Like, what can I do there? What's different without me breaking the bank?
And you're not wrong about that, except for me, invariably what's happened is people would say, oh, you got to go to this place. And then I'll go to that place and I'll be like, this place is terrible. Why am I not just at Red Lobster? Because I know at least what I'm getting, generally speaking. I mean, there are bad Red Lobsters, don't get me wrong. But yeah, like I was in Seattle one time and someone was like, well, you got to go down to the fish market and you got to go to this fish place, whatever this, I can't even think of what it was called. And so I took Nei because we were together and I was like, well, somebody told me to go to this restaurant. And she was like, okay. So we went down and I'm like, this is shit. Who is seriously, oh, it's the best local place. I'm like, oh my God, what this place needs is a Red Lobster because this is not good.
Oh shit. Like
when we went to Seattle, my buddy, one of the clients and a good friend of mine, Braden Cox, he's like, man, I'm going to take you out to dinner. And so me, his girlfriend and another artist, we all went out to dinner together, and he's like, what do you guys want? And I was like, what about some good Chinese food? And they're like, yes, we know the perfect place. They found what they said to be like one of the best Chinese food restaurants they could do.
I'll be right back, guys.
Panda Express.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good old Panda E. And we show up at this place, and we're walking in, and all of a sudden, a throng of people start walking out. And I was like, and Braden and them are just kind of like, what's going on? And they're just kind of confused, but still trying to mill. And I was like, hey, what's going on, guys? Why is everybody suddenly leaving? And some guy goes, they're out of fucking food. I was like, what? What do you mean they're out of food? And he's like, I ordered chicken. They didn't have any chicken. I ordered meat. They didn't have any beef. I was like, oh shit, that's not good, man. And Braden's like, oh, should we go in? I'm like, there's a bunch of, like, this isn't one random drunk who's angry. This is a throng of people. And as he's yelling and he's mad, everyone else is, I was like, no, don't go, like, don't waste your time. So we ended up going to, like, a shitty Chinese food place. And that meant that now I'm really wanting Chinese food because I want to go somewhere good. So the next night, Sunday, because I was so disappointed. Sunday, I was hanging out with Henri Compan, who just love that dude. Love working with him and everything.
I invited him. He did not reply.
What a dick.
I know.
Henri,
right?
You're better than that. You're better than that. And so he called me at like 12:30 last night. Like he messaged me at 12:30. He's like, hey, you up? Yeah, what's up? I get a phone call. He's like, want to go over some pages? Yeah, okay, whatever. I can work fine. But yeah, we're in Seattle, and I had mentioned the shitty Chinese food, and he was like, I have the place for you. And so he took me to Bruce Lee's favorite Chinese food restaurant because Bruce Lee was from Seattle. And so this is, holy fuck, it was amazing. And we're in Seattle. And so we're outside, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're gonna go in. He's like, you want to see how much we can eat in there? And I was like, I mean, do I look like I'm? Yeah, I'm down for that. So he and we smoked a joint outside, and then we went inside and got all you can eat and just ripped through the food like we ate. So and they like had our whole table piled, and I was like, "There's no way we're gonna be able to eat this." Like even high, I was just like, "No, there's no way, dude." Ripped through it all. Like and it wasn't just my fat ass. Like all three of us ate so much food, and it was amazing. It was like
Chinese
eventually,
Yeah, Chinese food is pretty easy to eat. Like you
yeah,
just keep going. Like, I mean, and a lot of it's vegetables too. So you're eating like broccoli and mushrooms or whatever.
celery and shit.
I
Yeah.
can see that. I mean, outside of eating the rice, which will fill you up, it's like I can see where you just kind of keep troughing.
Oh, we just destroyed it. It was so good, and it really was some of the best Chinese food I've ever had. But yeah, I'm with you. Find a place that you that you like, and you can go to. If someone really has a good, like they're like, dude, trust me. All right, cool. Let's go check it out. But yeah, have somewhere where you're like, all else fails, we can always go to Red Lobster.
Yeah. I'll judge your restaurant on the appetizer, and then if it's no good, I'm out.
Oh, just go. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. What's the worst? Like, tell me the worst Red Lobster story you have. Or will you lose your sponsorship deal?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay,
there were two Red Lobsters that were bad, and both have fixed themselves. Which is, and it's funny that I know they fixed themselves because I went back. The first was in Chicago, which was really a bummer because I lived there and it was like our Red Lobster, and it was not good. Like we went there, it wasn't really good, but I was like, maybe that was just the night. And we went back again, and it was like, yeah, that wasn't the night. This is just bad. And I had gone for my birthday also. And so when they came, this is just the most depressing thing. When they came to the birthday to sing you happy birthday, and they've got the little, ice cream bowl with the candle in it. No ice cream. It was just
just whipped cream.
Whipped cream. It was just a bowl of whipped cream. I was like, "Are you kidding? You didn't even have a scoop of vanilla in here? Like this is really bad, guys."
Wow.
And
so
that was basically it.
Life.
We were like, well, that's the end of that Red Lobster. But then, because again, we would have people come in for C2E2 and so on. So years later, I was like, let me just try it again. We're going to go to Red Lobster. We're going to have the Big Dog Inc. Red Lobster night. We'll go here. Hopefully it's better. And it was better. It was like legitimately better. And I was like, oh, thank God, something happened and they leveled up.
Let's really tip them and make sure that they keep it happening.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The other one was actually Phoenix. Again, same thing. It was like right near Jesse James Comics. And so when I was out there, I would stop and get it. And I'm like, this is not good. Like it's just this is not good. Things are cold. The biscuits are always overcooked. Undercooked is perfect. You want just a little bit undercooked. Fucking perfect biscuit, but everything's just crunchy and it's just like there's no butter in the scampi. I'm like, what are you doing? And so I came back. What was funny is I came back the following year and gave them a try, and everything was different. And so I asked the lady, I was like, so how long have you guys had like a new head chef? And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, just tell me. It's recent, right? She was like, yeah. He's like, he'd been here for 3 months. I was like, I can tell this is all good food. She thought I was insane, but it all changed. So there's really, I'll tell you the best. It's still the best one on the planet so far. Is the weirdest place is Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Really?
It's not even a self-standing building. It's
landlocked Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah, it's in a strip mall. It's literally in a strip mall, and it kind of has a little bit of the decoration on the outside, but when you go in, it's just a Red Lobster. It looks exactly like every Red Lobster, but it is always the best. And I was there with who was I there with? I was there with Nei. I was there with Rob Multari. No, not Rob Multari. Who the fuck was I with? It was a whole bunch of people. Who was? Oh, David Harrigan. It was David Harrigan.
Oh.
Some other people. We were out there, and I was like, "Look, I've been telling you guys about this one Red Lobster, so we're gonna go. I'm gonna prove to you that this is the best Red Lobster. Not that they would know because they're not the connoisseur that I am. But we went, and it was a great experience. Like right from the get go, the lobsters in the tank were all pissed off and fighting. Like it was. So we had gladiator fights while we waited for our table. We got to the table. We had a great waitress. She was awesome. I was giving her a hard time, like, you know, because they have like pins and stuff. I'm like, I need your pin. She's like, well, you can't have it. I'm like, how do I get one of your aprons with the embroidered lobster? She's like, well, you got to get a job, honey. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that either. So she was great. She was awesome, and it was great food. The food was really good, so everybody had a good time. And I was like, prove this is it.
Did you
This is
guys
the
know
best.
why I am an investor in Texas Roadhouse as a stock?
You had mentioned it earlier, so I assumed you were.
Well,
serious.
I am a Red Lobster points holder.
I own.
Which I didn't even know existed until I was at that Red Lobster, and I was like, "They got to have points, right?" And so I got the app, and we got points. So I got free apps coming, man. I'm ready to get out on the road again for use up my Red Lobster points, and then earn some more Red Lobster points.
So I own stock in Texas Roadhouse, and I bought it dirt cheap. They're like $93 a share now. I bought it for like $32. But the reason why I bought it is that I had this ultra cute waitress, sweet, like fucking down south in Maryland, and like this girl was like,
Yeah, wait, down south in Maryland. I know Texas.
yeah.
So when you're like
Hey,
down south
hey.
in Maryland,
No, let me explain. Maryland.
I mean,
Parts of
technically
Maryland
there
are
is a
down in
South
the South.
Maryland, but
There are POW camps in Maryland. It's insane. Like I went on a Confederate tour. Like there are legitimately Confederate POW camps. It is insane down in Maryland. Because I went to go see wrestling down in Maryland at MCW and at Texas Roadhouse. I was staying in a hotel over like Labor Day weekend. It's great. And Texas Roadhouse, there's an Olive Garden and a Texas Roadhouse. I said to my dad, I'm not eating some fucking garden vegetable fucking pussy shit. Like, that's what I said to my dad. Like, I'm not eating that. We're eating steak. And I had this, like, sweet waitress with, like, a southern drawl. And I'm like, oh, man, I gotta fucking buy into this company.
Maryland is north. It is not south.
it's very north.
There's no southern drawl in Maryland. I guarantee you there's no southern drawl in Maryland. There's more southern drawl in Las Vegas because people go there than there is in Maryland.
All I know is that this girl had like a southern drawl, and man,
No, you were drunk. You were just drunk.
I can't imagine.
I swear to God, it was 12 in the afternoon.
That doesn't tell me shit.
No, I was not an alcoholic at that point in my life.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, a day after I was, but that's not the point. So that's how I pretty much knew I was going to invest, because she was fucking smoking hot and she had great tits. That's why I invested in that company.
I will admit to stealing a gag in Penny for Your Soul from Maryland, because I used to go. My dad lived there, so I would go there in the summertime, and we would have to go over the Bay Bridge to get to the other side of I don't know, whatever Eastern Shore is what they call it. So you have to go over this really long freaking bridge, the Bay Bridge, and then you're on the Eastern Shore. When you get off the Bay Bridge, about, I don't know, 5-ish miles in, on the right-hand side,
Exactly.
there's a restaurant on the bay called Adam's Ribs. And it always stuck with me. Like, does that guy know what he's doing, like with Adam and his ribs? Or is that just a guy named Adam made a rib joint? Like, I don't know if that was a joke, like the greatest joke ever, or if it's just Adam owns a rib joint. So I actually stole that and put it in Penny for Your Soul, that Adam of Adam and Eve has a restaurant in Penny for Your Soul called Adam's Ribs.
Right.
So, and I've always, even as a kid, I was like, Adam's Ribs, that's kind of funny, man.
Legitly, I invested in Texas Roadhouse because I had a great waitress who was cute as fuck and she had great tits.
I don't think that that's, unless it's Hooters, I don't think that that's necessarily
The way to go.
invest. Like, I don't even have Red Lobster stock. I don't even know what it trades for.
I've never invested in anything,
Hey,
barely
hey,
even myself,
no, no,
and
let
I
me
can tell you.
I made 200% on that deal.
I haven't even
Don't
invested in
pretend here
myself.
that like I'm a genius. Like,
That's amazing. That's amazing.
hey, I'm good
That's like
at
how do you
life.
get unrocked. There's some really good stuff.
In my defense, though, I understood that everything was artificially inflated back in 2020 in February.
Are we talking about your waitress,
We're
or
talking about the boobs again? Yeah, we're back on the boobs.
We're talking about the stock and then
the stock.
The stock inflated. Yeah, that's right. So, Chuck, are you back on the con scene? Are you doing cons this year?
Man. Yep, I got Dallas Fan Expo. I've got I just today threw my hat into C2E2.
Oh, okay.
Gonna try to get into there. Never done that one, so we got 3 of us all trying to get in there. Comic Palooza, Dallas Fan Expo, and I also have my first guest table. I'm gonna be a guest at a Long Island Comic Con in November.
Maybe I'll come see you because I'm in Connecticut.
How did, dude? So you're a part of it. Greg Aosa from the poker. He told me.
Oh, that's
he has
his
a
show,
comic.
right?
Yeah, that's his show.
Yeah.
And so he told me. He said, "Would you?" He had asked me. He's like, "Would you come down?" And I'm like, "Man, it's a hell of a long way to go." And he told me, he goes, "Well, I have 2 shows. I have a 1-day show." And I was like, "The 1-day show is an absolute no." And he's like, "I have a 2-day show." And he's been really good to me. I play his poker game a lot, and
I used to I did Long Island Con, and that was a blast.
Yeah,
and fun con, very writer centric, very more prose than anything else. And out of that, I essentially got Brimstone out of that, which is
cool. This one's probably very very vendor centric, but I don't care. Like, I'm excited, and he had said to me, he said, "Yeah, this one's going to be 2 days." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll think about it." And he said, "Look, if you're coming that distance, and he had done a special variant cover for Belial and everything, and so he said, "Look, if you come all the way out and sign my variants and everything, then I'll give you a table." I was like, "Free table? Fuck yeah, yeah!" I have friends out that way. I would love to do that. So we're gonna go do that one, and that'll be my first guest.
I mean, that's essentially something that I would like to work to. Obviously, I don't know where I'm going to be in the next year and a half, but clearly I'm getting hopefully
none
to
of
that
us
stage.
do now. We might not be here tomorrow. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
It's we're playing this by ear at this point.
We're playing this nuke by nuke.
Yeah, right. That's right.
I'm very interested in the digital space. And that's kind of where I play. But at this stage, I'm still licking wounds from comics and paneling and shit like that. And it's probably gonna be another year before I want to enter the fray.
Well,
like legitimately.
Are you near Long Island?
I'm in Connecticut. I'm in Bethel. So Connecticut, Long Island is not out of the question.
Okay. Well, then you got to pop by, man. If I'm going all the way that far, you can come from.
You got to make the rest of the trip. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like I had a buddy in Florida. I drove all the way to fucking Orlando, and he lived like an hour and a half away. And he's like, I don't know if I could make it. I was like, I drove 19 hours. You can drive an hour and a half. Fuck you.
I don't. It all depends on where I am financially.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
I'm very, very realistic. Where the whole point of what I'm doing right now is just keeping pop anime comics afloat, keeping conversations in pop culture afloat, keeping my website afloat, and all that shit. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I am legitimately trying to keep as many fucking little things afloat as possible. I actually just heard from Jacob Stern, Fairy Metal, to do my metal cards. Thank God, because that was stressing me the fuck out tremendously, because I just want to get my metal cards out. I want to take care of my business partner, and I really want to make sure that he gets what he needs to get from me, because I don't want to be the guy who screws his partners. That's a big thing for me, even if I take a little bit of a hit. I want to protect DJ, who's a good friend of mine at this point. which I think is
See,
very important.
Andrew, that's where we're different. Because if I don't screw my partner, she might leave me. So, we're very different there.
But cha.
My partner has a lovely husband, and
Okay.
so I cannot screw my partner.
Okay.
And no,
To each their own, however you want to do it.
Hey, look, you know what it is? I like my partner, and I love DJ.
I like
don't
my
love him
partner.
the same way as DJ loves his husband.
Oh,
So
that's
that's the difference.
That's
Me and DJ are very good friends, and
Yeah.
DJ and me disagree politically, but we are rational human beings where we are both center, where I tend to be center Republican, he tends to be center Democrat, and we agree on about 95% of issues, which is
Well, I
amazing.
mean, if he's gay, he kind of has to be a little more central liberal,
But he owns a gun.
I mean, depending on where you live, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I would say that most people in Texas have a gun. So if you're in
Oh,
Texas,
yeah.
it doesn't even matter.
He lives in Atlanta. And
Not a bad idea there either.
The thing about DJ is that DJ is a rational human being where because again, my whole thing is that he's like, dude, all I want to do is I just want to do cosplay. Like, I don't want to deal with all the bullshit. Fuck that shit. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to deal with it either. And that's why me and DJ get along great, because what we talk about is just, we agree on so much shit. He's like, I don't want to pay taxes. And I'm like, I don't want to pay taxes either. It's amazing when we fucking have a conversation, because the whole thing is that,
Listen, that's not a coincidence. No one wants to pay taxes.
I know, right?
That's the point.
You have that in common?
No. And even my position on abortion and a variety of other things. He's like, I see your point, man. Like, I think Roe v. Wade is the greatest decision that's ever been produced. It makes complete sense because nobody's happy with it. And I'm like, this is a great deal. It's a great
nobody happy.
Nobody's happy. That means everybody's happy. If people say, what the fuck? This is a shitty decision collectively. I'm like, isn't that an amazing compromise? Because, and not to get too into it, but like, I'm like, I think that's one of the greatest decisions that's ever been made in the Supreme Court.
See, instead of Roe v. Wade, I want to make a burlesque place that's called Hose Be Made, which I think would be great.
I'll produce it.
You branching out.
I am pissed, man.
You've given up the writing. Actually, are you? I see you keep getting all these editing jobs. Like Henri Cobran just said he's going to use. Are you like focusing on that more, or are you doing Belial 3 or like?
I always focus on the editing more. First off, that allows me to. It's supposed to allow me to pay for my own stuff. Yeah, but also I find that for me, look, I madly respect you when you come by and you show me these huge fucking piles of books. If I had to do that, I would blow my fucking brains out. Like, that stuff just, I hate the idea of having to do it. And I get it's a necessary evil. I understand it. And I'm sure no one loves to do it.
Plus, that's 12 years of doing it. When I started,
of course.
I did my first con. I had literally 2 issues.
Right.
Of a book.
So the idea of having to do that just fucking kills me. And so, for me, I just find that I tend to do the work that is expected of me, and I do my own stuff last. So if someone's like, hey, man, I need you to do this, cool, I'll run over and I'll help them, and I'll help this person, I'll help that person. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, I haven't put out a Belial book in a year and a half.
That's so interesting.
So like maybe I should do something. So.
Well, yeah, that's why I asked, because I was like, I don't even, have you even announced like, hey, maybe this year we'll do Belial 3 or anything?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I
haven't even seen the announcement,
right?
Yeah, we just actually today showed something that Connie Jolitz did. She did some art for it. We've shown off just a little bit because we're heading towards halfway through the pencils.
Okay.
And the cover's almost done. Actually, Wes Hartman right now has the cover, and he's gonna, whenever he can fit it in, he's gonna color that up.
For you, because I messaged him the other day, and he was like, "I got so much to do, man."
He's working for a couple of people. Yeah.
Right. Like, didn't I ask you?
And I got him working for Henri too.
So like I asked you, Chuck,
Yes.
because one of the things I said to Chuck, and I got no problem saying this, is I upgraded Chuck because Chuck bought a
Yeah.
live read ad, and I said, hey man, I'm gonna get you in anyway, and I sent you my calendar link, and that's just I said, hey man, I got you covered. But like I'm like, hey, what's going on with this shit? Because I just want to know from a business standpoint and a sponsorship standpoint that hey, because I have people interested in what I'm doing, and I'm like, hey, when's this shit coming out? And you're like, hey, we're thinking July, August at this point, right? Or June, July. And
Yeah.
I'm like, let me know when you want to be it, and my link, and you can hit me up whenever you want. But that's the idea that I'm like, hey, what's going on with this book? Also, I'm asking for a different reason as well, where I have limited funds and I'm making sure that I can back your fucking book.
Thank you, buddy. I
And
appreciate
that's
it.
the other thing too, is that
Thank
that's
you.
what people don't understand is I have a different mentality where, for instance, my February has been bought by Ben Dunn. Cat Shit 1 is coming in hardcover. I love
What is
Cat Shit
Shit?
1.
I've
Cat
never
Shit
heard of
1 is one of the most amazing books that's ever been created, and it's
Okay,
beyond underrated.
you're slurring just a little bit. Spell it. Are we saying
Cat
CATCH?
Shit 1. I don't think I'm slurring on this one. Cat Shit
You're hearing
1.
it right. Cat shit 1.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that AP even slur or anything.
It's also known as Apocalypse Meow.
Okay.
It's a book that where what they do, what has been done is I don't know the Japanese manga artist per se. I think it's Maku something. Kobayashi. I might, but I might be wrong on this. So
We'll get as racist as we can here. We'll just
it's the idea that what they've done is that they've taken an anamorphic, and I might be slightly slurring this because I fucking mispronounce words all the fucking time, but basically everything is done in animalistic format
okay.
per se, where instead of humans you have animals, and it's much like Mouse, and it's depicting the Vietnam War, and then it goes into Afghanistan in the 90s, and then it sort of goes into a little bit of 2003 per se, and it shows a war format in a different position, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
And it's a brilliant piece of work, and that's something that I just had to back. That's a $50 book that's ending, I think, in the next day or two.
Yeah.
So my point is that I understand how I budget. This means that I'm not backing another project, and so
Well, then
now,
I'll give you some lead time. I'll make sure to let you know.
so when what people don't understand about me is that I have X amount of dollars, and I pick and choose what I have to do.
Yeah.
And so there might be somebody's project that I love, but I might love another project more. And that's the thing, even with you, Tom, is that at this point is that you got to give me lead time so I can be like, hey, I want to support you. If you say, hey, you're coming out in May, I know that that's where my money's going. And
January, April, July, October. Those
Is that basically how you
those
do
are
it
the
every
four
year?
key. We generally
Yeah.
do that anyway. That's kind of our
Yeah.
core thing.
That's smart.
And then we'll drop in, like, we will actually have something in May. Like May is Goth Day again. So
Nice.
May 22nd, we'll have Goth Day returning. But yeah, generally we do it quarterly like that. And then drop little things in. So that, and really, if you can maintain a schedule like that, then people kind of know, like,
Yeah.
this is how we,
And they start to expect it. Yeah.
Right,
My
exactly.
wife will, because we both of us, we jump on a lot of Kickstarters, just wherever we can and whatnot. There she is, and good lady. Hers is coming out around May. Good lady. So we'll do whatever we can, and we'll pick up books, but nothing usually too big. Like I usually can't afford the bigger tiers, but anytime Top Cow comes out with something,
Oh yeah, did you get this
immediately I'm like,
Cyberforce book?
fuck shit, dude. Yeah, she's gotten all of those books so far, and immediately as soon as they announce, oh, we're gonna do Darkness Volume 2, and I'm like, fuck, there goes $67. Shit. And yes, sure enough, she's all in. What do we have? The first two
hey, I love Matt
Witchblades, the first two Matt Hawkins is great.
I feel like I should have got those Witchblade books.
They're great.
But I didn't. I did get. I guess it's not Top Cow though. The two. The hell is it called? Oh, Hack Slash. Did those Hack Slash omnibuses. So I got those two things, and then I got the Cyberforce crazy thing.
We got
and that's really interesting because
I brought to Dave Finch.
The rumor, well, not the rumor. I mean, kind of the talk was a lot of those early '90s books, because this was way before technology that we have now. That stuff was being colored in different ways, photographed. All these negatives were supposedly gone, and it was going to be really hard to sort of recreate these books and do them in a modern sense. So the fact that this thing is actually happening, I was like, are you kidding? Like, how did this even, what did you do to make this happen?
So that's funny. I actually spoke to him, and you're going to find this funny. I spoke to him about that because we saw him again at Dallas Fan Expo, and I did, and so did my wife. Great guy, by the way. He just so happened right across from me was where the celebrities were kind of slipping through. Well, a lot of the Artist Alley celebrities were slipping through to go to the main stage. And as he slipped out, because of the crowd, he was kind of trying to meander to them, and he ended up right at my booth. So I stood up and I'm like, Matt Hawkins, how are you doing, man? And he's like, oh, I'm good. We didn't know each other. So I introduced myself. And the funny thing was that weekend was my wife's birthday weekend. My wife, Wendy, is a massive Witchblade fan. So I told him, I said, it's my wife's birthday this weekend, and I just wanted to thank you guys for what you're doing, because I said, this is her Witchblade birthday. We got her Witchblade #1 signed by everybody, including Michael Turner. We got it. Like, we just got her all this Witchblade shit. Chris Mad made her this beautiful Witchblade print. Yeah, pass that over, babe. Just all this like amazing stuff, like so much cool shit. This is what Chris Mad made for her. And so yeah, just all sorts of great stuff. Told Matt that we really appreciated what they did, and he's like, okay, just a second, and he runs away, and I'm like, that's the last I'm about to see of Matt Hawkins. He's not coming back. Not if he's smart. He is an intelligent guy, but he came back, and he showed up with a special edition of Witchblade 1 from like 2 years ago, like a con exclusive from 2 years ago, and a pin for Wendy. And I was like,
who
holy
I know.
shit, that's so fucking cool. So I gave that to Wendy, and I said, Matt Hawkins just delivered this, and I told her the story, and she goes, wow, what do I do? What am I going to do? I said, you're going to go over to his booth, you're going to thank him. And so she went over, she thanked him, she got him to sign it, and that's when he told her about Cyberforce. And he told her most of that, was photographs of old pages and scans and stuff. And then they got our own Wes Hartman, and he came in and he did a bunch of that extra color work.
How I got
there was other people too, but Wes Hartman was one of the colorists that they got to work on that.
So one of the things about Matt Hawkins is that I'm taking a day off from my work. I'm in Barnes & Noble. I'm writing about Samaritan. And I'm like, man, this is like House of Cards season 5. And I'm like, man.
Is that with or without Spacey?
No. Spacey left after season 6.
Okay.
I'm like, man, this is so fucking perfect. Like, this is like, how'd you fucking predict this shit? Because I'm smart enough that comic writing is beforehand. And I didn't read the Tilth yet and all that shit, but I'm like, man, I've read Postal and all that shit, and everything's linking up, right? And so I'm like, man, because at the back of that book, he's like, here's my email. I'm like, fuck it. What do I have to lose? And he's like, man, you actually read my book and you actually read the letter pages? I'm like, when you want to do it? I'm in a Barnes & Noble. Within like 30 minutes, he responds to me. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And then I'm like, man, I'm speaking to Matt fucking Hawkins talking about, all this crazy shit. And it's amazing. And I'm like, and then I got to interview him. And I actually have to get back to him because he said, hey, shoot me an email. We'll do another interview. And I'm like, man, Matt fucking Hawkins. And in that interview, he's like talking about like in the 90s. Yeah. I looked at my social security check. I was making more money than I've ever made any other day for those 3 years. In like the 90s, I'm like, oh shit. He's talking about the days that he was at a comic shop and he just brushed, what job can I have, Rob Liefeld? Tell me what job I can have. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is amazing. And then I'm like, he's talking about all this crazy weapon shit. it's an amazing interview, and it's one of my favorite interviews that I've done for my other show, because Matt Hawkins is an amazing human being, and he's just so honest. And it's one of those weird things where you have somebody who just doesn't give a fuck, and it's so weird. And the only thing I can think of is that he prepared me for eBass. That's the only thing I can say to Matt Hawkins is you prepared me for eBass.
So, Wes doesn't have any Top Cow connections previous, does he? Like, did they just like find him on the street and be like, "Hey, Wes, you want to do some help on this thing?" Or
I think it was either through his representative or through another fellow colorist or something like that. I didn't get the story on that. Just that he said he had done some of the work on that. I was like, dude, that's badass. And Matt was so excited. Matt said this should not have come out near as good, but he said honestly, these pages look better than when they came out in the 90s.
Well, I mean, are they? I mean, you don't know the answer to this. I'm just like, is it like a complete recolor, or like is it just sort of like a, you know, like when they make a 4K video, is it like just sort of cleaned up?
I think it's cleaned up, touched up. Yeah, I believe so. But yeah, that's something to. I believe that's what it is.
Interesting. I was really blown away that it happened.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no way. There's no way
most of it's gone. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
It was cool, and I was thrilled for it, but legitimately, I just stayed away because I knew I couldn't afford it. I'm like, man.
Yeah, those are the things like, and again, I should have got the Witchblade ones. I feel stupid for not getting the Witchblade ones. I was never a Darkness guy, but you know, even Witchblade, I was never really even a Witchblade fan, but I have like a weird sort of retro appreciation for it. Now, you know, because I sell comics now, and so Witchblades will pop up in the collections, and I'll be like, God, why the hell wasn't I buying this book back in the day? Like, it's so weird. I mean, I know a lot of it was because I was very Marvel DC guy, you know, back in the day. Even when Image was happening, I was into it, but not like super into it. So it's like the 10th, Tony Daniels, the 10th. Like, I'm totally into that now. And I never even gave it a second look back in the day. There's a lot of really crazy stuff from the 90s and early 2000s that like is just lost. Like, people, and a lot of it does end up in like weird dollar boxes and stuff. And so people think that it really doesn't have value.
I mean,
but
I have the J Company shit from like Witchblade and all the variants they did.
Well, that's all variant stuff. Sure. That's different than just like Witchblade, you know,
but
82
J
or whatever.
Company is out of business.
Witchblade Wolverine.
And one of the things that's kind of crazy is like that's how I found Sia Om and all these people, because what winds up happening is a comic shop takes in a collection and then they throw all these books into a dollar bin. Like, that's how I got the Brian Pulido Lady Death. That's how I got introduced. It was the leather cover. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? This thing looks awesome. I know nothing about Lady Death. I know nothing about Witchblade. I know nothing about Sia Om and everything that she's done. And all of a sudden, for $1, I'm like, I'm willing to try it. And I get introduced to Matt Hawkins. I get introduced to eBass. I get introduced to all these people from Aspen. And it's a weird phenomenon where I am kind of broken, I guess, because I went back to the 90s in 2018. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm a weird phenomenon.
Oh, that's happening right now. That's the whole point. I mean, I sell tons of that stuff on my show. Because people either, well, number one, there's a lot of new people that are like, I wasn't in comics when this stuff was happening, so they're looking for it. Some people are just trying to fill gaps in the collection that they have. So that's super normal. Hey, Wendy, is this is going to be weird to like have a conversation in the chat room, but is this happening right now? I know I'm not eligible anymore.
Yeah, it's happening right now.
It's happening right now. I was going to do this a long time ago, but then I was published by Aspen, and I was like, well, shit, I don't think I qualify anymore. And now that I have the Bad Kitty thing happening with Dynamite, I know I don't qualify anymore. So, but I hadn't heard the announcement. I always kind of watch for those things. I'm always interested to like see who's doing what.
I'm thinking about it too, because I was like, I have one major-ish, I don't even know if it's major, writing credit, and I was like, does that count? And so I looked. Antarctic Press, and I looked and they're like, nope, they don't count. Great, cool.
They don't
I'm gonna try. They didn't count
They're
them.
not on the list, so
They
that's fine.
weren't on the list, so I'm gonna try.
So
That's
explain
hysterical.
this to me. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So Top
So they
Cow
do it-
just does a talent hunt, and they look for writers and artists and colorists and all kinds of stuff. So,
So
but
let
you
me
can't have
ask-
been published by a.
So I'm
what-
eligible, technically.
Sure, if you haven't been published, yeah. The
I've
idea is that
I
if
haven't
you
read
haven't been published
anything.
by what they deem as a large publisher, so that would be
Yeah.
Zenoscope, Aspen, whatever.
So my company, Pop Anime Comics, as far as articles about.
No.
commenting on
That's not
comics.
comics
I'm
and
up
writing.
for your game. Sweet.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
I'm
Wendy
the next top
says
Very
superstar.
the scripts are due by the 31st.
I will
So
get it on the 30th. I promise.
there you go. Yeah. What is happening here? I'm getting all these freaking comments on Facebook all out of the blue. Like, what is going on right now?
I'm the next Top Cow superstar.
I haven't
just
seen
wanna
a
say
single.
it.
I don't think you've shown me a single Facebook comment today.
You know what? This is really weird, guys.
Are we actually live on Facebook?
Yeah, you know what? They are here on Facebook. Guys, I see you all talking, but it's not feeding through to what our comments are. over
Tom,
here.
they're here for me. I'm just gonna say it.
So
Did
yeah,
you,
I see Terry. I see Mr. Smithers. I actually sent Mr. Smithers the link, but he didn't show up. Mr. Bishop.
Nerve.
Guys, I literally did not know that you were here because the feed is the Facebook feed is not coming into our StreamYard
Yep.
feed, which normally it does. So I super apologize to you all for basically ignoring you.
At the beginning of my
Smithers
show,
got off work.
At
So
the
yeah,
beginning-
I'm sorry guys. I will keep this open here as well for as long as we're on tonight.
Yeah.
But that's never happened before.
This is super interesting about Top Cow because I've never been published. And I don't know if I got a book coming this year at some point, but obviously I'm still working on the script and the art is whatever, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun book. Is all I'm gonna say.
None of that'll affect you with Top Cow
No.
if you decide you want to do it. You're going to do it too, Chuck, since our
yeah, I
request
think
doesn't
I'm
count.
gonna try it.
for
I think
some
I'm gonna. Yeah, exactly. I found my loophole, so why not try it? Let's do
See,
it.
I don't know if I'm ready, and
That's fine.
there's a
They'll
book.
tell
and
you by either picking you or not. So just try it.
The route I want to go, and me and Tom were talking about this, is I'm a huge fan of Dead Reckoning, which is the Navy Press Institute, and I have a relationship with them. So what they do is they publish a lot of military comics. So they've done things like Winston Churchill's graphic novel, and they've done a book by the Jewish Beret is a good example of that. And they do All Quiet on the Western Front, which is the graphic novel interpretation of that novel, and a variety of other projects. And they got like maybe 20, 30, 40 graphic novels. And they are very connected. And that's the route I want to go in, which I want to go the military route as a writer, because that's what I like to write about. And so I would find it from a personal position, not necessarily a monetary position, very rewarding, because I've spent a lot of time in VSOs and a variety of other things, which are veteran service organizations,
Yeah.
that I want to write about the burn pits in Iraq. And I have a particular illustrator in mind who I would like to work with, and I think that it would be a very important book. And forgetting about the money side of things, the story I want to tell is going to be a very cool story.
I will
Well,
tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Be careful about the important book, because sometimes when it comes to entertainment, the worst thing you can do is put importance on it. You know what I mean? Just do something that you love and care about and you want to do well. Because if you have that extra weight on your shoulder of this thing is so fucking important and it has to be amazing, that's gonna be so devastating when you have a hard time
the whole thing is that I need that book to be approved by the VFW and Student Veterans of America, and I have connections in both those organizations. So both of those organizations, their stamp of approval matters in that position. And
Maybe
when
write some other things before you tackle that one. So you can do the so you
Yeah,
can
if
do
you're
the
gonna,
test story.
yeah, if you're gonna write something that you feel pressure about, it's never gonna work. So you kind of have to work your way into the big stories, sort of, if that makes any sense. You
so
got to
Yeah.
just get your writing
one
chops
of
flowing
the
and moving in the
things
right direction before you can say, "Well, I'm going to write the Abraham Lincoln, ultimate story."
when I mean the book I want to write. I mean, think of Aaron. Shoot, I can't think of his last name. Fuck. He wrote The Other Side, which is an amazing book that was published by a subsidiary, and then it was published by Image later on. Deals with Vietnam, and it's a brilliant book. And I want to write something comparable to that, because that is the standard as far as I'm concerned. And I understand the marketing side of it, which is getting the approval by the VFW, which I have connections with because I did an internship with
Yeah, but
them.
have you written anything besides articles?
Sort of.
Like your podcast articles, or like have you written either prose or comic book script style?
So I haven't written comic book style, but I've written some prose stuff, short
Okay,
stories.
but you want to write comics is what that's your what you want to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you need to not focus on that like at all. You need to just figure out what writing a comic book means, how to do it, how to pace it, how to, Chuck knows all of this, because it's not
Yeah.
the same as writing prose at all. And
Well,
if you're going to
am-
come out,
yeah.
come out and be like, here's this war story as a comic, chances are they're going to be like, yo, this doesn't make any sense. Because it's not going to make sense. Because even when I wrote my first script,
Yeah.
it was a nightmare of
I'm not
starting and stopping and
gonna
rewriting
pretend
and whatever.
here that I'm ready for.
Well, that's
this
what I'm
shit.
saying. But that's all you're focusing on. So that's what I'm saying. If you want to do that, that needs to be your goal of we're going to get there. But you need to write something else to build yourself up to those big stories.
Right now, I am very much in the research state of this project, talking about the burn pits in Iraq and all the fucked up shit.
But what I'm saying is that doesn't matter because you don't know how to write a comic book yet.
No. The thing about the research state is that the reason why that research shit has to happen is the people that it deals with are going to be dead in about 3 to 4 years.
No, but what I'm saying is though, is research is the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
Learning to do something you don't know how to do, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So you need to just start writing anything, even if you're just writing Superman fan fiction. Just start writing.
Start doing some fucking anthologies, getting some shorts out there and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I mean all that, because that'll also help kind of make a name for you, sort of like have a mini fan base and people that you're attached to.
No. I don't disagree with anything that anybody's saying. What I'm saying is that prepping up all the interview shit behind the scenes and all my personal shit, you can prep up the research shit before you start writing. Of course.
Yeah.
It's the idea that I'm smart enough that I'm not ready to write this shit by any means. And even if I was, it's kind of like I'm gonna write a shitty script, and then it's like polishing a turd, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not looking at this. This is a story that's in the next 2 to 3 years out.
Definitely hire an editor.
Another story that I want to write first. A much, much, much more enjoyable story that's a lot less pressure that I'm working on.
So if I could participate in the talent hunt, I'm not as familiar with Cyberforce as I sound like I am. I'm way more actually. I know a lot more about Wetworks. I liked Wetworks a lot. The dudes that were like fighting vampires and stuff. Cyberforce was kind of like the side thing for me. So I don't know. I think the obvious choice is Cyblade. I mean, she's the hot chick, sort of the Psylocke wannabe sort of character. So I mean, that would be the natural drop in point for me. Oh, you know what? Also Velocity. Velocity, their speedster, would be cool to do. They did I've read a couple of Velocity things. Like Kenneth Rocafort did some stuff for that. And we have a speedster in the Big Dog Inc. universe, but he's never really been like broadened out. He's just kind of this sort of side back character. But
Well, because you said it right there.
yeah, right. Yeah,
That's why he didn't do that well. If she was a speedster,
get that
she would
guy
be
out of here.
huge.
Get that guy out of here. Oh my god.
What's Big Dog Inc. again?
It's this hat company.
Hey, as long as we all understand where we're at, that's what matters.
So that's and that's I mean, there's been a lot of like writing, I don't know, whatever you want to call these things, contests or searches or whatever over the years. I've always thought about them. And there's been a few that I've been close to do, but even when it came down to like working for other companies, it's very rare that a company will say we're looking for writers. That almost never happens. It's happened a couple of times where I was like, I could maybe do that. I think they have stuff that I would care about. But then inevitably, there would be a situation where I would find, problem with it, either with people that are there. I'm like, I know I'm going to clash with these dudes or whatever. And I just was like, nah, I'm just going to stick to this.
I got a legitimate question.
Miracle. What's the question?
So this is my whole problem is that, and I'll preface this, I come into the idea that I want to be paid, right? And I want to make money. So I don't give a shit about ego.
That's the wrong way to come into it.
In comics, yeah.
But I come in from a business position where I'm like, look, I have to understand how I make money, how I make a living.
You sell the comics. You make the comics. You sell the comics.
I understand all that, and this is my whole thing where I'm interested in monetization of the complete IP and everything in particular. And this is how I'm now approaching this entire year, where I'm now, and maybe I have changed, and I'm willing to accept that, But that's where my question sort of I think originated, and what I'm curious is that. Where do you guys draw the line saying, hey, I want to produce comics or I want to make a living in the field or I want to get paid?
Start is always, I want to make comics. That's everyone starts, I want to make comics.
And
you have to make a comic. You have to make a comic before you can ever make $1, because otherwise you have nothing to sell.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to try and get paid by somebody else, that's a different situation, but you're not going to get the job unless you've already produced a comic and you can show that you can do the job. So it always has to start with, I want to make a comic. And then you go make a comic. And then you have, hey, Chuck, I made a comic.
Holy shit.
I want to work for your company.
This is where this gets interesting, because
I can give this to Chuck, and Chuck can look at the book and say, Tom, you suck balls. I'm not hiring you. Or on the other side, you hope, Tom, this is really good. I have something that you can do. And then you get paid like a little bit of money because, again, Chuck's a small publisher. He doesn't have, I'm going to give you $1,000 to write a script. That's not going to happen.
This is the whole thing in my last interview.
I'll give you a bunch of comps.
Right. So I had just had Tyler Carpenter on, and me and Tyler for about an hour and a half really talked about the monetization in this entire discussion for about an hour and a half. And I'm in a very different position where I've come in from very much a corporatist position. I got no problem admitting where I've come from. I've come from an institutional, I've come from mainstream. And so now I purposely came into indie because I saw the landscape changing. But I'm at the stage where I'm like, look, I'm trying to monetize my show. I'm interested in getting fucking paid.
But that's completely different. Monetizing a show and making a comic, that's completely different things. So there's different discussions in monetizing like a podcast versus I'm a guy with an idea. I'm going to write a comic. I'm going to write a novel.
That's where I get very much interesting is that I'm coming in now where I'm like, hey, I produce a comic. I now have a platform. And even Chuck, you have a platform. Tom, you have a platform. So the question becomes now is that where do we monetize our platform to trickle down?
You sell the comic.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm at the stage where I haven't produced anything yet, but clearly I have an audience, and that's like the whole thing where it gets all fucking tripped up.
Well, no, but what you are doing, the one part you are doing is at least you're networking. So when you do start producing stuff, you already at least have the leg up as far as networking is concerned, and you can go, oh, you know what? I've done this, this, and this, and you and I have a relationship, so I can show you this stuff, and hopefully, if you like it, that can mean what Tom was saying earlier, where maybe you want me to do something for you. So, like, for me right now, like, I work on as much shit as I possibly can, and try to get myself into different companies, and work, have as many kind of different names as possible. It's all sort of the long con, in the hope that eventually
right.
someone looks and they go, oh shit, Chuck's name has been on a fucking ton of stuff. He's done a bunch of stuff. I like what he does. He has no problem working hard and putting stuff out. So let's give him a shot. And so
Well,
right
Chuck,
now
I
I'm
was
less
interested
worried
in
about
you.
money and more worried about that long con at the moment. But eventually that gear's going to have to change. And we're looking at that in the next, hopefully 2 to 3 years, that gears start to change and we move on to my long game.
So this is Chuck. I mean, I completely looked at you as lazy, but that's not the point. No, that's such a bad joke. But this is what me and Tyler were really speaking about, is different monetization tracks.
Yeah.
And clearly, I come from very much a institutional business position, and that's how my mentality works. Is that I'm looking and saying, how do I monetize every little single track?
Sure,
And I'm
but
at that
it starts.
stage.
It does. There's 1,000 tracks. It starts with make a comic. Until you make a comic, all of the tracks don't matter. Patreon, Kickstarter, website, digital sale, none of that matters until there's actually a product. And so it all starts with making the comic.
Yeah.
And that's just going to cost you money. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But once you have it, then you have the digital file that you can put online. Then you have actual physical books that you can take to cons or sell on a website or whatever it is.
I mean,
But it
I'm
all
the
starts with
weird-
make
yeah.
the comic first.
I mean,
By the way,
obviously
Tom-
no, I agree on the comic side because obviously I'm coming into that position, but like I've come completely into a slightly different way, and that's why it's so interesting for me to speak to everybody else, because it's kind of like I'm trying to figure out, hey, what's going on with podcasting, which is a whole different beast in itself.
Yeah.
But now I'm slightly transitioning over, and I'm trying to spot the differences, and so that's why I find these conversations so interesting.
Tom, the background of this thing, I keep seeing the person right next to me, and it keeps fucking freaking me out because I look over and I'm like, what the fuck is going
Chuck, there's
I
10
keep
people
seeing
next
the
to
little
me.
shadowy person over there, and I'm like, is that like my ring? Is somebody at the door? What the hell's going on?
Do you
Chuck.
not know who that is?
Chuck, I only have
That's-
one word for you.
Knowing
one
you,
word for
it's
you.
got to be like Halloween. It's got to be like Mike Myers or something.
That's exactly what it is.
By the
Yeah,
way,
yeah, it's gotta
you have
be.
to let me know when that's coming out too, because
What's that?
I want an interview with when Bad Kitty's announced. So I know
Oh, yeah.
Dan Wickline is
Well, it's announced.
wrapping up.
Well, it's announced, but we don't have. I don't have like a date yet, but it should be coming soon. In fact, I just got a whole bunch of pages.
Hey, I
cover pages.
expect you to be on my show.
Sure,
During the
that's fine.
time, I expect it.
In fact, here, I'll do this for you guys right now. Chris Chua is doing colors for this, and I'm going to show you guys.
You're allowed to show some stuff?
Listen, I'm the fucking boss. Okay.
Okay. I'm sure
Dynamite.
Dynamite feels that way.
Cows to you.
I am going to show you guys a page that blew me away. No, I'm not going to show you that page. I can't show you that page. I'm going to show you a different. I'm only because it's too much story, but I want to show you guys what it looks like. So I'm going to show you something. I just have to find the right page.
For
I
those of
just
you
want
out
the
there,
record.
the title of this episode is "Fuck My NDA."
I just want the record to reflect that I gave up supporting my friend Declan Grant in the first H2O show in a steel cage to come talk to you guys. I just want the
Well,
record
that's
to reflect
beautiful.
that. I am dedicated to the cause.
All right, here we go. I got one that's good, but it's not going to blow up the story. Just got turned in today. Chris Chua has been a colorist for us for a while. Of course, CB Zane is doing the art.
That's CB Zane. He's
Is
just
this his
too
first
fast.
jump into Dynamite?
His first?
Yeah.
I think so. I know he did some Devil's Due stuff, some odds and ends. Like he was on some G.I. Joe stuff, which is cool.
That
Oh,
CB
yeah.
Zane is just a too fast artist.
Yeah.
He needs to slow
But
down the pace a little bit.
When I did this, come on, stupid thing. When I did this, when I pitched to Dynamite, I was like, there's like basically two dudes that I want to bring with me. And I gave them the choice of who it was going to be. And they liked CB, and he was available at the time, which was part of the key, right? Is be available for this stuff. Yes, I know, Mr. Smithers. Mr. Smithers says, stop teasing. I'm not selling books here. No, but I don't want to show like the key story points. So this is just a really cool shot, guys. No one has seen this except for me and Chris and CB. So here is this sort of day to night shot of Bad Kitty in the cemetery. It's a really great shot, kind of, this showing this moment of her like just spending the time, obviously, as time goes by. Super dramatic, super cool.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I teased one of these panels out today, so we can show this. This doesn't blow up the story. This is a really great character moment. For those that don't know, Bad Kitty, her boyfriend got aced in the original miniseries. And so this was, again, when I'm writing this book, while it is a new push forward, I also want it to be grounded in the stuff that came before. So
yeah,
all of the stuff, there's all kinds of little Easter eggs and nods to what came before. This is one of them with her boyfriend buried in the cemetery. Jake, she's kind of spending one last day because she knows she's probably not going to be back here again. And so that's what we got, and it came out super, super cool. So,
yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous. That's beautiful.
So that is you guys got an exclusive tonight for that.
Well, and it's funny because CB Zane, beautiful work, but from panel to panel to panel, he isn't really like this. Is like an old Flintstone episode. You know what I mean? Just keep putting the same thing up there.
Yeah, if you look at it, what's cool is you've got the cat, right? The cat is the motion. The cat is there too, but the cat's just kind of roaming around, looking around. And then, of course, the moon and the suns do their thing. But he was like, this is the easiest page ever, man. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. I like doing these things. In fact, I just read a thing from Wendy Peeney, who was talking about ElfQuest and to her, what are the 9 sort of like important storytelling sort of elements in comics. So she was going through all these different things, and that type of a thing was in her list of sort of comic book tricks. And I was like, yes, I'm on the Wendy.
Those beautiful little repetition moments. Yeah.
Beats. It's you have an entire day of time essentially happening on one page, but something happens just enough, whether it's the moon and the sun or the cat wandering around. You have a little bit of motion in each panel, but the focus is still like, wow, she's like there all day. This is so it becomes sort of an emotional moment while you're going through the day with her. And I was like, I ran through her 9 steps or 9 tricks of comic book writing. And I was like, damn, I use all of these tricks. I have all of Wendy's tricks. Yes. Now I just need her storytelling talent to, build these crazy worlds. But yeah, I was like really thrilled. Like, check. Yes. Check. Yes. Check. Yes. So yeah, I was really happy with it. And then, we got that in. Hey, thanks guys. Everybody's digging on the art. We appreciate it. Again, there's some stuff that I could show you that would blow your mind, but it's too story related and I don't want to spoil it for you. So you're going to have to wait till the book is out for those.
Do we have any kind of an idea when it might be out?
Soon. Soon.
Dynamite's wrapping up Dan Wickline's story.
Yeah.
And I think they would just want to take a few weeks off.
Sure, it all depends on their schedule, but they also use Indiegogo as well. So there's it is entirely possible that it may end up on both platforms. Because again, this is a brand new book versus a lot of what they do is just like, hey, we're going to kickstart like a variant cover or something like that.
Yeah,
But
because they've done that
this-
with a few people that I
Right.
know.
But
so-
this is a completely new book. So they may very well take it both places. So just be aware of that, folks. But once they make decisions, I will pass the decisions on to everybody because I want everybody to know and be ready for it. And if it goes on Indiegogo, we'll let you know. You
it's
can go
also
over there.
It's also the point where that there's certain months that I think are better.
Nah, not
typically
anymore.
For Kickstarter.
Not anymore. Well, except for November and December. Those still continue to show me that those are brutal months for Kickstarter. Even with us, we do October campaigns that end in November. And even then I kind of feel like there is a drop off that shouldn't exist. Not always, because like this last time we did Oz number 3 happened in November or October, November, and it was our second biggest one ever. In all of our campaigns, it was our second biggest ever. So we either bucked the trend in that case, or we just were able to gain momentum long enough to really
also
hold on to it.
at that point with 3, don't you have a built-in audience though?
Well, we already
So
have the
you're-
audience for
Well,
it.
he has a dozen years of fucking
Yeah.
publishing.
But isn't the idea, and I'm going to challenge that a little bit, where because I believe in the concept that where if you have issues 1 and 2, I want to know how the trilogy fucking ends, right?
I will tell you that you're wrong.
Okay.
And I'll tell you that you're wrong because here's the crazy part. We had fewer backers, but we had higher money. So we had the highest dollar amount ever, but we actually had fewer backers from even the previous Oz
Well,
campaign.
hey, then I'm
and
wrong.
that's where well, but again, you're right, but you're also wrong. We did get the dollar amount, which was very high. We did have a significant, I think it was like 50 less backers or something. So it wasn't like hyper dramatic
theory, right?
enough.
So
It's enough.
my logic position, I could be first one to say I'm wrong on this, is that look, WWE's product, in my opinion, is not great. I'm still a fan of theirs, so I'm curious what they're going to do next. So they have a shitty pay-per-view. I'm more interested, is the next pay-per-view going to do better than the one before it? And that's what draws me in. Same thing with Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. So that's how I view it. And I'm curious is if they have a bad outing, I'm more intrigued on how they recover.
Sure.
And that's my logic. And so that's how I viewed your Kickstarter. So I'm like, hey, I'm invested in how this story ends.
Yeah, when we did Penny for Your Soul, we did 7 issues, and every single issue was better all the way through to the end. So you can create that momentum for yourself, but if you get down into November and December, I've found with our stuff that there will be those bumps, like we should have done better here, but we didn't. And it's because, and I guarantee it's because we're in November. And I've watched December campaigns just completely crap out.
It was funny. I had a buddy who he's launching, I think, in the next week or two. And he said to me, he goes, "Hey man, I think that I should hold off until April." And I was like, "Oh, okay, why? Is something wrong with the book?" He's like, "Oh no, book's done. There's just so many good books out right now and coming out." And I was like, "Don't do that, or else you'll never fucking bring out a book." Like, there's always good books coming out. So that's
right.
a shitty reason.
This is my question, where I launched in January. And one of the things that I said, and I said earlier on in this podcast and this live stream, is I said if I didn't launch, I don't think I ever would have launched. But I know for a fact that if I launched in April, I probably would have done a fuck ton better. To be honest. And I recognize that people
not necessarily.
That's why I was,
especially in your situation, because you're talking about a podcast versus like a comic book thing. But last year, in fact, or was it last year? Was it last year? Maybe it was the year before. There were in January, I launched a campaign. Marat Michaels launched a campaign. Dan Mendoza launched a campaign. Ron Zabala launched a campaign. Like all within 10 days, there were like 5 large scale campaigns that all launched. None of them suffered because we were all at the same time.
Yeah.
We all did really well by the end of it.
And-
So yeah,
I remember when Berserker came out.
Sure.
People
Keanu
were
Reeves thing.
bitching about people were bitching about Keanu Reeves being on Kickstarter and stuff, and I was like, dude, it's actually pretty amazing for people. Like, I checked out Berserker, then I went to the very bottom, and of course they're like, oh, if you like this, you might like this, this, or this, and
Correct.
right below was one of my buddy Kyron, his book was there, and I was like, dude, where can you be seen beside fucking Keanu Reeves?
right.
Only on fucking Kickstarter, man. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only place you can have that happen. So, people complain and go, oh, I don't know if I can handle the competition and shit. But I'm like, it's not competition. It's actually really helpful for your book. It's getting
it's marketing.
all these extra people to see it. Yeah, absolutely. So
it's marketing
get over
because
it.
they're not there for you. They're there for Keanu.
Yeah.
But the hope is that they'll go for Keanu and then hang around and stay there and see what else is going on.
And it's unlikely that people who support you and watch your stuff are going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to get it because Keanu's on there. Like, that's not probably going to be a thing. So you're probably not going to lose anything. And in fact, you should gain from it.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another Kickstarter fallacy.
Yeah, I agree.
That there's a limited Kickstarter. I mean, obviously people have budgets and they have to make decisions. So when big expensive things come out and they have to spend, $50, $100 on whatever book they want, that might be it that they do for that month. So that's a real thing. But as a whole, in the entire context of Kickstarter, you should be able to gain one if you lose one. Particularly if you're on Kickstarter enough and you've got some sort of a reputation, like you've done 2 Belials. So when you drop Belial 3, all those guys should be like, okay, cool, Belial 3, let's check it out. And then, hopefully, and that happens for all the campaigns too. It's not just the Keanu one. If you go to the bottom of a campaign, it'll tell you, hey, look at these other things down here. So the more eyeballs on the platform, the better it is for everybody. I mean, and so whatever it takes to get that down there to get more eyeballs, then that's what we want to have happen.
I completely understand that. My Kickstarter was predicated on a bunch of other people's projects. So I'm not going to pretend because I'm not in competition with any comic beyond the fact that people have budgets, because I am predicated on that. And I'm actually in an interesting position right now where somebody is trying to use my name to book guests and not pay me for their services, which is a whole different ball game. But I completely get it. Where my Kickstarter, and I'm in a very interesting position where I'm a podcast and I'm not a comic. So,
yeah, I mean, there's really none of it is really competition. It is in the most basic sense of people have budgets. So if 3 people launch and there's a crowd overlap, like a fan overlap, the Venn diagram, and there's a Venn, there could be some, okay, I'm going to do that one. That can happen. But the larger scope, it's not as big of a drain as people think that it is.
If you have
I'm
7 big zombie books coming out in October on Kickstarter, then maybe some of the lesser zombie books, they might be overlooked because people are like, I'm already getting these 4 zombie books. Why am I worried about those 3?
But there's anybody like people all are like, well, Brian Polito's going to launch a campaign. I don't want to be against Brian Polito. Trust me, you're not.
You do.
Those people that are going and buying Brian Polito's book, they don't give a crap about your book, probably. So it's not a competition.
I mean, I'm in the position where I have X amount of money per month for Kickstarter, and I am on a budget. And you can call it the Dave Ramsey budget, call it whatever you want, but there is intention. So once I reach my budget on Kickstarter, that's the end of that discussion. It's nothing against anybody's position.
No, and that's what we're saying. But that's, again, if all 3 of us have a campaign running at the same time and you can support 2 and not the other one, then that's just the way it is. But that's the percentage of the budget problem is much smaller than the larger. We can get people that don't even know who we are, involved in the book. And that's the growth.
I
that you
mean,
want.
I could tell you for a fact that I converted about 8 people that don't know who I am on my Kickstarter. I had 38 backers
Great.
funded, and I converted 8 or 9 people. I forget which number it is exactly, but that was impressive to me because
So
that
that's a
means,
quarter.
yeah, no, I was
That's
beyond
huge.
thrilled that I'm like, oh fuck, I converted people who have never ever been on my show before.
Yeah.
And they felt comfortable enough with me as an interviewer and looked at what I was doing and who I had on my show previously. Be like, man, this guy is something. And that's a big deal. And maybe it's not a big deal if you're Joe Rogan per se. But for me, that's a game changer. Because that means that the next time I run one, maybe I can convert 30 or 35%.
Yeah.
So everybody in the room here is talking about stickers. Mr. Smithers says he loves stickers.
I like
Trish and
stickers
Mike
too.
were playing. They said they were playing with their stickers today. Mr. Smithers says more
She was
stickers.
probably scratching all the panties and stuff.
Yeah, right. It's interesting. That's the hardest question to deal with is like what do you guys want as like the stretch goal items?
I'm the worst at it. We didn't reach ours.
It's terrible because you ask 100 people, you're going to get probably 62 different answers. Like, I want this and I want that. Is like, okay, this is not useful. One thing that I did that in my head, it makes sense is, and I know people like the stickers, so we do stickers, but I actually converted from stickers to magnets so that they can put our stuff like on the fridge, because then it's like this constant reminder of, hey, Big Dog Inc. is like right on my refrigerator.
Well,
Whereas
Tom,
with stickers, like if you put a sticker like on the back of your phone or something, like it's there forever. And if you have to change your case, like your sticker's gone. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, Tom, I hate to say this, but my mom hates you. She doesn't like the magnets. Throw it on the fridge. She's disappointed.
That's because you're sticking them to her fridge?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I love them.
So
I'm a fan.
Here's why everything you just told me says I did it right.
Exactly.
There's a reaction to it.
I'm on your side.
Woman who never reads my comics knows my name. That's
right.
big.
That's right.
No. You should send me more magnets. This way, when she throws them out, I can throw them back up on the fridge.
Right. I know Shawnee comes on our show sometimes, and she'll have her background will be like her kitchen, and she's got her refrigerator like right over her shoulder, and it is just covered in magnets. I mean, just absolutely like head to toe refrigerator magnets. It's unbelievable.
There are only 2 rewards I give a fuck about: magnets and metal cards. That's it. If you send me a sticker, I don't give a fuck.
That magnets cost a little more. Yeah, they cost a little more. I mean, and again, it depends on where you're getting all your stuff from. Like, I do all my stickers, just so everybody knows, if you want to do this stuff, I get my stickers and magnets and stuff from a place called Sticker Mule. And they do, I mean, you all know because you've gotten the product. They do great stuff.
And now, Tom, what is the problem with this position?
But not very much.
What is the problem here?
You have to teach it. You have to treat it as a marketing expense, right? Because just like
Tom,
what Andrew just said.
What is the problem?
What's the problem with what?
What you're doing right here, right now.
With what?
There's only one problem we have.
What's
you don't have a promo code.
I don't do promo codes. Fuck that.
No. We need a promo code.
Nope. I don't do promo codes.
It's time for you to make money.
Nope.
Monetization.
Nope.
Completely.
Nope.
No. You gotta come to the Andrew Davis position.
Nope. I'm out.
Chuck is coming to my position. We're here to make you money, Tom.
Nope.
That's all we're here to do.
I just gave everybody can go to stickermule.com. There's your link. Go get it.
We're gonna count them tomorrow. And we do this, get a promo code.
See, and this is what we're talking about, right? It's like everybody wants all these different things. It's like, Jesus Christ, I don't know what the hell to do. What did you guys do for Belial? Did you do anything like kind of unique, or did you just kind of stick with the basics?
No, we did. We did the stickers. We've done cards. We did. What the hell were they? The car air fresheners.
Oh yes,
okay.
I have one of those.
Right? Yeah,
like pine
pina
smell?
colada because he owns a shitty bar.
Pina colada. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah,
I thought you like found like a brimstone one. Like that would have been amazing. Like a brimstone car freshener.
yeah, I was looking for that, and also who's it? I think it was the Bankstons who were like, "Can you get sex and candy?" It's like I don't think that's the flavor.
Smells nice.
Is that mine right
Oh, is that
there?
it? Is that it?
Lunchbox. Those all my metal cards. This fun shit right here. Smells
So
nice, man.
It's
Still
in
works.
plastic though. I can't smell it. It's in plastic.
In the seal, guys. In the
Is
seal.
is that my air freshener?
It absolutely is.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, there we go.
And it makes my nice lunchbox from Zenoscope smell fresh.
I always have one in my car. Always have one in my car. Actually, I have a car that's been basically sitting on a pop tire for a year, for longer than I've had the air fresheners. But it has an air freshener inside there. Like I open the door, put the air freshener in there. Anybody walks by, that car's gonna smell good.
I purposely keep your air freshener in my Zenoscope box with my metal
I
card,
appreciate it.
so they smell nice. My parents wouldn't put it in their car. That's the problem.
I get it.
Hey, they just don't want the scent of hell to smell nice.
Yeah,
It's a
brimstone.
problem.
You
They
gotta
don't
get that
understand you
brimstone.
and me.
Somebody's got to make it. Like Nightcrawler, whenever he bamfs, right? That's supposed to smell like brimstone.
Yeah.
Somebody has to have that. That has to be a real thing. Like with all the crazy crap that people do, especially like with like the hot sauce and all the crazy devil hot sauce and so on. Somebody has to be making weird scents of there you go. There's your promo code. There's your promo code. Somebody's got to be making weird sense of. In fact, here, you know what? I'm gonna do your job, Chuck.
You're gonna do my job? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sell it, guys. It's your books. That's all I'm doing here. Is my job is to make sure both of you are successful
You're
human
gonna
beings.
edit somebody else's book?
Brimstone air freshener.
Hey, I believe the scent of hell should follow you wherever you go, and it smells nice in my Zenoscope lunchbox.
Thank you.
In fact, it improves the Zenoscope lunchbox.
You can't find it, can you?
It might not exist.
Yeah. That's tough. And we did look. We really did look.
You have changed my Zenoscope lunchbox.
That means the world to me.
This thing was good, and you made it great.
We're gonna keep trying, man. We're gonna get some more shit in there.
No. The only stage you can go is to phenomenal.
That's my next aim. That's the next ladder.
Gotta level up, Chuck. Gotta bring
I'm disappointed in the pop culture world that there's not.
It's okay.
No, but I know, like I said, we did try, Tom. We did actually look.
Don't worry.
And I just got freaked out by Mike Myers again. Fuck.
I'm just gonna say, I came in before my Kickstarter. I was a happy guy. I was very innocent, and I've become very jaded about pop culture because I got a lot of negative press to me, and I did not expect it.
See, Mike says my mom would love horror themed air fresheners. So you gotta work on that. You gotta find something, man, something that's gonna be unique in that regard. Man, we got a lot of people chatting over here on Facebook. I'm so sorry, guys, that we didn't catch you earlier.
And I hate to say it, I actually probably have to bolt soon. I have to be up early.
Yeah, man. We've been doing this for 3.5 hours, so we're well into this. Guys, thanks for chilling, and Andrew and Chuck, thanks for chilling too.
I'm only here for you, Tom. I'm only here for you.
Of course.
I don't get invited on anybody's shows. It's a shame.
You're on Larry's show. You get invited to Larry's show.
No. That's because I'm there for Larry, and I understand I'm a team player, guys.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing. I know I'm here for Larry. That's the only thing that matters. I'm expected to be on Larry's show.
Oh, I see.
When I am absent from Larry's show, we know there's a problem in my life.
Okay.
We know I'm having a really bad week. When you don't see me on Larry's show, I'm having a rough week, and you should probably be like, Andrew, what's up? I didn't see you on Monday night. What's going on, man? I'm like, dude.
Tom, you were watching Raw.
I was watching Monday Night Raw. That's the exact thing. Yeah. I'm completely honest. I was like, I wanted to see a shitty wrestling show. I needed that moment in my life where I needed to see something that improved the quality of my life and put everything in retrospect. I am very honest. Monday Night Raw is here. My life is above Monday Night Raw. The second my life goes below Monday Night Raw, we got a bigger problem, everybody. I'm just saying.
There we go. And I avoid expectations because I just jump on whenever the hell I want, and I do whatever the hell I want. And it seems like people are coming along for the ride. Hey, thanks to everybody at YouTube, by the way, for chilling out. Wendy and Christian. I thought there might have been somebody else too, but love the YouTube comments. That's great. Appreciate that. And guys, hopefully we'll have this fixed so that next time. So James Smithers has just posted a link. You'll have to go into the Facebook.
Who is James Smithers? Because
there is a brimstone perfume oil.
Okay.
Okay, so there might be something there for you to monkey with.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Even if you have to make your own air fresheners and drop some oil on it,
playing some cards or something.
Right. So go check the link. It's on the Facebook feed, and you might have something there. So yeah, guys, thanks for chilling. I really appreciate it.
I just before Tom ends this, I just want to say I got on a Tom Hutchinson stream. That was not my interview. It is a privilege.
It was a reverse.
And I am beyond thrilled.
It's Bizarro stream.
I didn't think it was going to happen ever. So I am beyond happy.
We're living the life.
Yeah, you can just retire now. It's all over. It's all over.
In fact, I'm ending Pop Anime Comics Conversation in Pop Culture is no more, guys. I'm all in. Like, I've achieved everything I wanted to do. This is my farewell tour. Thank you, everybody, for supporting me. And I'm running away with the money, and I'm scamming all of you. Jesus Bitcoin Christ, to the moon.
My computer says it's snowing again. That's not happy. All right, guys. We'll see you all whenever I happen to see it. Hey, Chuck, thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a good weekend.
Go check yourself 69 people.
Beautiful. Punch that into any website. It'll work just
anywhere. It'll get you something.
Bye-bye.